It's like, whoa.
And the origin of that quote's even funnier.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
but
it's
anyway,
No one
D&D.
gets to know the context of this ever, boys.
Right.
Uh,
Cancelable offense. Kidding.
I mean,
Sure,
the
if we
amount
got
of stuff
cancelled,
I've
then that's
had,
like traction.
like I have to cut in order to make this appropriate, whilst being usually inappropriate. As we welcome you all back to Twisted Fates. Over the next little while, my boys' backgrounds will slowly start to change as they all leave for Christmas.
Yes.
How could
Who's
you all?
changing next?
I'm leaving tomorrow.
Although I think the next time we record, both of you will have changed because you both leave next
Yes.
week and we record the following Monday. So
My parents have also gotten rid of my desk, so I don't actually know how I'm going
Sitting
to
on
play.
the floor.
I'm gonna be sitting on the floor.
Computer.
Shut up, front door fridge.
Oh, it's the return of the fucking front door
computer.
fridge.
I will record in front of the fucking front door fridge. I will make my background the fucking front door fridge.
You and you're just giving him what he wants.
You just occasionally reach behind you and grab some like orange juice.
from the fucking front door fridge.
You and you can't just give him what you want, what he wants.
See if
You
I
can't just
come
bend
home
like
and they
this.
fucking moved it and it's not a front door fridge anymore.
I'm gonna be devastated. I'm not gonna lie.
I've been
I'm
away-
gonna be
I've been
devastated.
I've been away, for context, I have been away from my parents' house for 5 months. I have no clue
A lot
if
can
they've
change.
moved it.
Where could a worse place be for a fridge than the front door?
Toilet fridge. Toilet fridge.
The bathroom fridge.
You know, sometimes you're going through a tough one. You're going through a bad movement, and you're going to be in there for a while. You
I
need refreshments.
Some roughage. I need some fucking roughage for
I
that.
need some
Make sure that the floor the fridge is on in the bathroom has a carpet on it.
The only controversial opinion on Twisted Fates that will ever be voiced that will make it into this cup. Carpeted bathrooms are really funny.
No, they're
There's
gross.
something inherently
Carpeted
fucking
kitchen.
hilarious about them.
Carpeted kitchen.
Carpeted kitchen. When I was looking for this flat, I saw a flat that had a carpeted kitchen. I was like, fuck that to the nth degree. That is so messed up. I'd rather like live on the streets than have a kitchen that's carpeted.
Right. Carpeted kitchen, carpeted bathrooms, front door fridges, bathroom fridges, and Paul filming on the floor, possibly next week. Aside.
Ah, I'll work it out.
What happened last time? Our recap, where the boys left off. Craig, hush.
We met a little guy.
Yes, you guys traveled through Ilvanya, still getting chased by the Blight, still getting chased by the Wolf. You were able to reconvene, though not able to regain your strength for very long before you were getting chased again, pushing you not really in the intended direction. You were hoping to get towards the ocean, you were instead pushed further inland, and ended up catching your breath for a moment and retreating into almost the basement level or the cellar levels of a church, or a ruined church or cathedral, where from Ranagash's perspective, the area itself looked quite familiar as that morning, or that afternoon, questionable, as he'd been falling through the sky. He ended up having almost flashbacks, flashes of visions of a location, possibly nearby, he wasn't too sure, until you guys stumbled upon this place. A place from his sights, and a place that also Marcusar felt a strange connection to, a strange pull from, where taking the time to kind of recuperate somewhat before you guys were unexpectedly interrupted once more, you found yourselves in a grove beneath the ground, with a tree that had protected the waters and itself from the crushing rubble above, as well as from the blight. A tree and a grove that was not too dissimilar from the ones you found in the Temple of the Precursors, where the water seemed to have very similar properties, though this time had little effect on Marcusar in comparison to before. Where
Some motherfucker cursed me.
yeah, it's kind of
Someone's been naughty since then.
problem of coming back from the dead twice.
I've been a naughty boy.
He's not the Messiah.
That's,
He's a very naughty boy.
that's plenty. That's plenty.
As yes, the four of you were interrupted in your break where the wolf, along with the blights and several Northul, called you out. Though it didn't call the four of you out.
Call outpost.
He only called one of you out. Where Marksar was very willing and very ready to give his life and walk out the door and, you know, say goodbye to all that jazz. But it turns out...
Turns out you guys care for me.
Yeah, which was actually kind of shocking, I'm not gonna lie, lads.
Wow, wild fucking opinion. We're your friends and we care about you. What a fucking shock.
Yeah,
We'd rather you didn't get eaten by a giant monster Resident Evil wolf.
Yeah.
I wonder why that's so hard to believe. What's so hard to believe about that? He's literally fucking wizard Satan. He's literally
Satan! Satan!
He's connected to fucking r/incel. He's fucking wizard Satan. We're not letting him eat you because okay, let's say hypothetically he doesn't kill you, okay?
Let's say.
Okay, sorry, I gotta get this out of my fucking system.
I feel like we've been through this before.
The session's never starting.
I'm really sorry, Em. I need this out of my system. Why the fuck would we hand you over to him? Even like if there wasn't the threat of him killing you and he just wanted you as a host, you're an incredibly powerful druid. Why the fuck would we just hand you over to him?
You know, he has
Point
a point.
taken.
Right, now with that heated
that's what
gaming
you would
moment
want
out of
to
the
say.
way.
Really and tactically an unsound decision.
This is
Point
what you
made.
wanted to say, not Wolfric.
Sorry.
You haven't ranted like this since Summerhost.
Yeah, that's been a long time.
No, I
this
haven't
is a-
heard Ewan rant like this. We've heard Wolfric rant. This was Ewan rant.
This is
This was
Certified.
a patented Ewan rant.
As hilariously, there wasn't much to the recap after that. Yeah, the boys made the decision not to sacrifice Marksar and made the decision to actively stop Marksar from sacrificing himself. They instead made the plan to, whilst the wolf was in a weakened state, to, whether it would have worked or not, go out and attack him and hope for the best. Where, as Paul is now referring to him as Deus Ex Hyde,
literally, he saved her ass.
they instead witnessed the blights die and flee from something else. Something that, upon reading Deirdre's notes into Wolfric's memory, possibly could be a parasite or an insect. This thing that was annoying Deirdre. This thing that had the ability to destroy his blights and he had no control over it. What they were expecting was perhaps not what turned up, as the wolf fled with his Northul, and whatever this creature was, whatever this insect was, it had the ability to dominate another Northul and disintegrate it once it had killed most of the blights and most of the beasts guarding them. Where hopping, skipping and jumping down a clock tower was a 13-year-old boy, dressed in mismatched watchman's armour, with very little in terms of understanding of common and no clue what the hell was going on, finding it very strange that 4 alive people were even here to begin with.
Some of us are alive at this point.
Some are more alive than others.
But the party trusted him, in air quotes, enough that, well, they're now going to be travelling with him for a little while, as he knows a different way to get to the Bone Tower, to get to the fissure, and to get to, well, where Deirdre's hiding, that possibly has the ability to avoid some blights. That leaves questions to be, well, many questions to be answered, as they're still pondering as to what Hyde actually is, as even with his divine sense, Wolfric was unable to pick him as an undead, a fiend or a celestial. The boy himself seems to be alive, but he's already made comment on the fact that he doesn't breathe, he doesn't count himself amongst the living, and he's never eaten nor drank before, and even when saying he needed rest, the boy didn't sleep. He pottered around his hoard, pottered around his treasure trove, collecting things for the journey, and even offering to take watch for the party, as they had their long rest at the end of last session. Where we start today, still in that grove, still in that cavern. The 4 of you will have had your long rest, despite the environment outside, it will have actually been quite a pleasant long rest, given the area you are in. It is very hallowed ground, it is sanctified ground. It is quite a peaceful night's sleep. Well, as peaceful as you can make it, sleeping upon stone and surrounded by junk. But as much as last session, we had old tropes coming back to join us, with Matthew's visions reappearing. Another old trope who's not appeared for a very long time is also now going to reappear at the beginning of this session, as Eidolon.
Excuse me?
I made note of it when you got onto the wall quite some
Oh,
time ago
yeah,
now.
okay.
That
I remember
your
now.
blight, the creature within you, the creature that has been giving you life for so long, has been stirring for quite some time. It is not, I guess, braved.
I hoped you'd forgotten.
Very rarely do I forget things. That's not true, but we'll say that.
I was gonna be generous and not say anything.
Half the people watching this will probably have already picked up on so many things I've just forgotten. Yeah. I need to make more notes going into any other future campaigns we do.
Maybe one day.
As up until now it has not been brave enough at least to engage you in conversation, though perhaps that is because nothing has really sparked its interest. Similarly, it probably wouldn't have wanted to converse with you on the wall, as that would have been dangerous for it to do. Similarly, you've not really had the time to have a nice conversation whilst in Ilvanya because you've been getting chased. However, you've had the time to relax and you've had the time to stop, and with that, you can feel this almost dull drone in the back of your head, where in your kind of almost semi-conscious state, as Eidolon often is, you can start to hear something unusual, as up until now, the voices that have been, or the voice that has been speaking to you has always been a singular voice. Always one. But before any, I guess, projecting voice comes through, you can almost hear chattering in the back of your head.
Well, that's unsettling.
I wouldn't say a conversation as such, and even with your passive perception being 30, it's very incomprehensible. It's like, it's muttering, it's whispers, some of it not really words, almost guttural sounds, where it seems like it's almost the kind of background static of standing amongst a crowd, where it's quite an unusual heavy sensation that hasn't really struck you with this creature before. Even the first time it spoke to you, whilst there was that kind of background drone, there was never additional voices participating. It was always one. But for some reason, perhaps it's because you're closer to the fissure, perhaps you're closer to the source, you don't know, it seems to be growing, perhaps in numbers, perhaps in might, or perhaps it's a projection of something else.
Well, I'm going to at least attempt to, I guess, ignore it is the best way to put it. This is inconvenient, to say the least, but I can just hope that it's trying to wake up and I can just say no. Legally cannot wake up without my consent.
Wow.
If I don't acknowledge it, it'll go away.
It's a shame that would work if it wasn't the thing keeping you alive.
Well, I can hope.
As it appears to know that you're ignoring it, or trying to ignore it to some degree, as you can start to hear that singular voice start to burst through, and at this point it disturbs your sleep. What sleep you have, it starts to disturb it.
Fucking funny, man, do you?
You know it is useless to ignore me.
Yes, but when I'm trying to sleep, I don't exactly see the purpose of engaging in a conversation.
And yet it is the only time I can engage you, as for the longest time you have seemed to be preoccupied, or in a state where I cannot speak to you.
Blissfully, so what do you want now? We're almost at the end of the goal anyway. I see no reason to make communication. I see no reason to make conversation, more specifically.
I had no intentions to. As you said, we are nearly at the end of this road, we are nearly at the end of this partnership, but now there is something new. And I can't do much with it, but perhaps you can.
Okay. I'm fully aware of what you're referring to, but I do not have any inclination of what you'd either want me to do or care for me to do.
I am curious as to what it is and what its abilities are.
Well, first things first, I don't think it knows the answer to that first question. Secondly, probably just wait and see. I have no reason to probe it when it's taking us through Ilvanya anyway. It'll show us.
Perhaps I should make myself more clear. I will watch and I will wait, but at the same time there is an opportunity to see what it is.
Alright, now you're the one being unclear.
At the moment you stand in a grove, one that you have been to before, one that I do not particularly like, one that has the ability to repel the blight, and if subjected to too much of it would have the ability to separate us and kill you.
Wonderful.
We could see what it is. If it is like you, it will simply expel the blight and leave a corpse. If it is
Yeah,
like-
not gonna happen. It's offering to lead us to where we need to go, so I think I'll turn that down.
If it is like the creatures in the wastes, the ones that Beast has created, then it should simply burn.
Yeah, your continued explanation doesn't make me any more inclined to try. See, I understand that you want to know what it is, but I don't want to lose the one lead we have for an easy drop and an easy win. So, I'm not taking an ill-calculated risk.
You know how to navigate these wastes anyway.
Yes, and I'm not an idiot. I could navigate these wastes and I could take us to the fissure, but we're being given a chance to get there undetected. I'm not dropping that. Nor do I have any intention on injuring someone who has offered to help us. Whether the offer is sincere or not, I don't intend to be the first perpetrator. Clearly it burns him. He's made bridges across, which means if he's touched it before, it burns him and it doesn't just separate him. Put that through surroundings.
Yes, but burns him how?
I have no intention of learning. Though if you're so insistent, I could use the one thing that you so dislike using. I'll simply ask him.
You kind of hear a low chuckle in your head. I didn't expect anything less.
Yes, but you wanted more.
Well, yes, because you ask and then you do not pursue. Right up until the mountains, I was still waiting for you to ask your orc friend to assist, and yet he did not. The only reason I did not push any further was because I got the answers I wanted anyway.
Oh, it's almost like patience ended up paying off.
We do not have time to be patient.
Though it seems like being patient has led us right here, with the exact situation we want.
That is still to be seen.
Indeed. And the time to take to see it is called. It's a P word that I'm thinking of. We're going to kill Gairdra soon, and that monster will go with him.
And that is where our paths end.
Blissfully.
As you do hear the echo, where, well, it's not uncommon for you to have clearly pissed him off.
Well, he's being unreasonable. I'm not just going to assault the person who wants to help us.
Well, assaulting them might get you answers faster.
Well, fuck him and his inefficient, scenario creations. I'm going to go back to resting. A little bit more pissed off than I was before.
Pissed off rest.
I'm sitting up, but just slightly more tense.
As having your conversation, obviously a lot of it is internal. Eidolon has never really had an external conversation with this thing unless it's really pissed him off. But
I wouldn't say that's happened this time.
It kind of puts your perceptions or your awareness to what's going on around you, kind of blinds you, blocks you out from that as you're focusing on something else, taking your mind off something else too. When you do come back, when you do, I guess, snap back to reality and start to kind of go back to rest, I did that, and you are all stupid for actually finding that funny.
I'm just always reminded of the snap back to reality, and then there's the GIF. It's actually on Discord. I'm always reminded of that one.
Snap back to...
Watch your profanity, the center of gravity. The meaning of insanity.
As when you do come back into the room and hopefully get that little bit more rest before you start getting on, quite close to your face, clearly personal space isn't something he's ever heard of, Hyde is staring at you.
Yes,
Who are you talking to?
the thing gracious enough to keep me alive.
What is that?
No reason to keep anything secret from the person who's leading us through a wasteland through what I need to use it to kill. Similar to the things that attempt to kill you, though it wants to kill them. I'm under no privilege to ask, as it keeps me alive, allowing me to kill them.
So why does it talk to you?
Because sometimes, in its benevolent grace, it does not know the answer to everything. It wished to know something, so it asked me.
And do you know?
Nope,
Then why ask?
because it thought I might, or it thought I might take the effort to do so.
As he kind of steps back for a moment, almost looks off into the distance, as if he's considering something, but at the same time it might also be he's considering what you're saying and trying to understand it to some degree.
Well, I can relate to that. It's like whenever you're thinking about something, you don't always you don't look at the person, you just kind of hyperfixate on something in the room. It's really awkward if the thing in the room is another person.
Yeah. As he kind of turns back around, almost twirls his staff in his hand and kind of smacks it against the rock on the side, creating this echo, which the rest of you will be able to hear. It is time to go.
Well, if everybody else is awake, then yes, it is time to go.
Yep.
As he will wake everyone else up.
How long is it to where you're taking us?
He kind of looks, again, kind of pondering, outstretches an arm in a direction, just that way.
How do we describe time as an abstract concept?
I'm gonna have a fucking aneurysm. Right.
Will we
We'll
get
just
there
go until we
before
go.
the light goes down? Before it gets dark?
It is always dark.
But noticeably darker.
Right.
I've never seen Ewan make that face before.
Wolfric is also making that face. Wolfric looks like, you know that? You know those clips from the Muppets when Kermit the Frog's entire face folds?
Oh, can we get Muppet versions of the party?
Please,
No, she's already doing art. We can't pester her for more.
Can the
Wait, there's
four
more
of you-
art on the way?
Not for this campaign, just in general.
Okay.
Can the four of you make me perception checks? Just as you're kind of gathering your things for that morning. Now very confused with Hyde, or confusing Hyde with the concept of time.
I like Vsauce. That's a 34.
Ah, that's incredible.
Vsauce, Michael here. Where are your fingers?
I like that Paul and Matthew actually rolled really good for those perception checks, but it doesn't look like they rolled that good just because of the comparison.
Craig is an outlier and should not have been included in the perception rules.
That.
He aspires George as a fucking perception D&D player.
Right, I would like to just add, right, I'm gonna fucking calculate that, right? Give me a sec.
Oh no.
We have an average party, because it's like all of us added together then divided by the amount of us, right?
Yes.
That's an average perception of 17.5
Impressive.
All
for the
because-
whole party.
All because
All
Craig's
because-
34.
All because of Craig's 34s. I can't wait.
As for the four of you, as you're gathering your things and obviously collecting your stuff to go, Hyde kind of lingering at the entrance to the cavern. The four of you notice something you probably didn't notice upon your first arrival into this cave, though it might be because the four of you are here that this starts occurring. As you start to notice that, well, in your packs, in your bags, where you keep your food, your rations, the stuff that Savelis gave you in order to obviously survive this journey, for several of you, you notice that some of your food has been pilfered. For Eidolon and Wolfric in particular, there are actually still 2 rats still in your bag, trying to pilfer your jerky.
Oh.
Nothing special about them, they seem to be, well, a little bit plagued, but they are still rats at the end of the day, as it seems that life in this cave seems to keep going, and, well, they've found their way into your stash, leaving it that you still seem to have enough food, at least for the journey there, but getting back might be a little bit more of an issue.
It's not anything bad, it's just rats, so no reason to be fully annoyed, it's just highly confusing. No, but all there really is to do though is just salvage as much food as possible and yeet some rats across the room. Go bowling. No, skipping stones!
Don't skip stones with rats. Marcus is here. I feel he'd have something to say.
But my inner store is also yearning.
It's screaming.
I want to skim so bad.
I gave you proficiency in skipping stones.
That was hilarious. Honestly, fucking incredible.
No, if it's just rats, that's confusing, but we've already worked out that this place is connected to nature, so it doesn't make the least sense in the world. So,
As Hyde kind of lingers at the entrance waiting for the four of you to collect your stuff. Collect your things.
rats a common problem in here?
Yes. Well, yes. The water keeps them alive.
I'd imagine it keeps the blight away.
No, it keeps them alive.
Meaning?
He kind of looks down at the ground. Where you've kind of shooed them, they kind of almost crawl into the walls, and you can see the moment they start to disappear, they do become a lot more blighted. I actually need to see if he's dexterous enough for this, because it could be really funny if he's not. He kind of scampers around a little bit, trying to catch one of them. Where, when he does so, he kind of stands up, kind of, I guess, dusts himself off to some degree and goes over to the water with the rat kind of almost wriggling in his hands. Where you watch as he kind of places hand on its body, almost a hand near its neck, and almost coursing down this kind of blighted arm he has is this almost spiraling green and purple light, where a crack of lightning or almost that kind of crackling sound seems to appear, and well, the rat is dead in his hands.
I just killed him.
As he then just kind of tosses it into the water, where lands quite, I guess, uncomfortably, quite grotesquely, where the kind of loose, limp body does start to almost break as it lands against these slabs, against these slatted stones, where he kind of just waits and stares at it, and it's not too long before you watch as the body seems to crack and reform, as the rat comes back to life, and kind of looks up from the water, standing on a stone, hisses at Hyde and runs off. It keeps them alive. Dead ones fall in all the time.
I'd say good to know, but I have no reason to think we'd use that.
As he kind of looks, almost cocking his head. Ready now, or more questions?
Let's go.
As I need the four of you to make me stealth checks.
We are notably good at these, definitely.
Oh.
This is something we excel at. I hope I can drag up our average a little bit.
Define we.
Well, we have a good start.
You have a good
No.
Matthew, you would happen to have a pretty good portent on you, would you?
Do we want to... We don't know what we're hiding from, so I don't know how
For
necessary.
context, I have to roll stealth checks with disadvantage.
Hmm.
I think it might be worth it if you have a nice roll, Matthew.
Do you want 19?
I will take a 19, so it would just
Okay.
be a straight 19. I will take a 19, thank you, Matthew.
There goes.
Damn. I hope we don't need that later.
Potent usage speedrun.
Any percent. Do-no-no-no.
2 left. Oh, it's not actually long until I have to update that, Matthew, and you get a 4th box up there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, our
See it?
average rounds up to a 17. That's not bad.
As you guys
that
head
is
out of the cave, you head out of the cavern, and you start to follow Hyde. You start to follow him through, I guess, what looks like, or at one point it would have been more of a market square, this kind of very open plaza, a lot of ruined buildings around it, but not a lot of rubble falling onto the paths or falling onto the stonework. A lot of it is still in its original state, despite being obviously dusted and ashen. Where he kind of takes you through several of the back alleys, and Marcusar, whilst everyone else is, I guess, being that little bit more stealthier, it is perhaps a little bit harder for you to be stealthier. You're kind of almost at war with yourself walking this landscape. There's part of you that is still pulled, almost drawn towards the grove, towards the tree, and there is this part of you that is now connected to this area around you, and it's almost making you feel nauseous, giving you that little bit of sickness that's just unsteadying you ever so slightly, where you end up stumbling, creating a almost knock that sends a couple of stones tumbling, the noise almost echoing in the silence. But Ranagash, give me a perception check.
It's Ranagash.
Sorry, I
don't like
have
these.
to ask. Never mind. Ranagash, you notice nothing.
Of course.
I have to ask because his passive is lower than average. As the three of you seem to notice that En is kind of stumbling, Marcusar is able to pick up his feet, but it would appear some blighted creatures have heard him. They have heard the noise, and you can start to see the shadows move, you can start to see them shift, and you can even see some heads, these contorted amalgamates, looking down at you from several of the ruined buildings, even from between some of the stonework. The strange thing for the three of you is, none of them seem to attack, none of them seem to move. They stand, they watch you, their eyes track you as you're moving through, but none of them come near you. More of them seem to appear, kind of garnering you, gathering around you as Hyde leads you further away from this plaza and more towards, I guess, a small collection of delves that seem to almost dive into the earth where a few buildings have been erected upon them, and still none of the blighted creatures come close. Hyde seems
Put
to
it down
pay
to
them,
Peter Pan.
like, Hyde pays them no mind you, but it just almost gives you this eerie feeling that whilst these blights are watching you, it almost feels like something else is watching you too, using them as a focus to watch where you're going, watch your movements. As well, something is watching you, something else is also watching you, but just probably further than you can see. As Hyde kind of stands at the edge of quite a large ruined building. At one point it perhaps would have been a refinery of some sorts, this kind of big, almost warehouse, workshop style, with half of its roof caved in and the other half on the verge of already caving in. As he kind of looks at the four of you, looks obviously at the blights in the background. In here, quick. Is ushering the four of you in. Not much of the building's internals seem to remain, as a lot of the stations for workshopping, a lot of the forges for refining, all seem to be dismantled and destroyed. The curious thing, I guess, with regards to this is, whilst it is very much a refinery and a forge house, at least for Wolfric and Eidolon, even Ranagash to a little bit of a degree, in terms of like leather working and leather armour, little bit of exposure to smithery, but mostly my military boys. The curious thing about these refineries, about the workshop that's here, even some of the kind of broken and rusted tools that are left over, they don't appear to be working for metal. They aren't tools for working metal, they aren't tools for working leather. The way the forges are, or were constructed, a few of them have collapsed in. They are built with several layers of insulation, where these forges will almost erupt like dragon fire. They will get hot, hotter than any forge really should be for tempering or molding metal. If you were to try and create armor or anything using these forges, you'd probably destroy the metal in the process. You'd completely evaporate it. Whatever this warehouse was once used for, yeah, it's definitely an oddity in the sights for the four of you. As Hyde kind of goes forward, ducking and dodging through some of the rubble, kind of, rather than manoeuvring it, he manoeuvres over it, kind of jumping and almost flipping whenever he can, using his staff as leverage for a lot of his movements as he kind of blinks back and forth, as he makes his way to kind of the centre of the warehouse, where would the four of you just kind of follow him as you go, or would you do a little bit of a snoop? As there does seem to be stuff here, stuck in time. Obviously a lot of it is old and a lot of it is deteriorated over time, but there is still some stuff scattered around if you wanted to have, I guess, a little bit of a look before you followed Hyde further into the building.
I think I'd do a specific snoop, but if he's going over the stuff, I would also choose to go over, but when on top of something, I'd just take a moment to look around. Make sure that this actual area is secured, make sure there's nothing following us in or watching us in from the outside. But that's just because I have the ability to go up.
You can give me your perception then, looking around.
I think I can. I can hope at least.
Actively perceive.
Oh my! I rolled a 2 on dice, so that's only a 17.
It's only.
That's
Oh
actually
my.
shocking, Craig. I'm really
I
disappointed.
know.
Only 17, by the way. Only 17.
Only 17.
I can only flex about one set of number rolls, so I just need to. I need 2 when I can.
As you kind of look around, I guess not investigating too hard as you're not kind of rifling, you're not kind of looking through stuff, you're more, again, eyes scanning, making sure the area is secure. In the grand scheme of things, the area is not very secure. A lot of the walls of the building no longer exist. A lot of the structure is not very supported. The building itself is very unstable. You notice as you are climbing and moving and obviously following Hyde over this rubble and navigating around it, there is almost an echo noise, almost as if the floor that you're starting to walk on, moving away from the workshop, isn't quite supported underneath you. Is every footstep, every movement you start making, and as the others start to join you, you can hear it reverberate down almost through a void or a pit, though even with a 17, because you know that's a good perception on average in comparison to Eidolon's normal perceptions, which are stupid. You can notice that Hyde seems to be leading you towards a rather large hole in the ground.
That explains the reverberating.
Quite a lot of, I guess, deteriorated scaffolding built around it that seems to go down into the earth.
Again, that explains a lot very, very quickly. No, apart from that, after I've gotten that gauge, the 3 of them are obviously welcome to, and I'll stay up here for as long as it takes for them to do what they're doing. But, yeah. Would join near the hole when necessary.
Would anyone else have a snoop around? Like an investigation, or would they just kind of have a look around as you're heading towards the hole?
Just kind of have a look around and then
We're sticking close to
head to the hole.
yeah.
Sticking close to Hyde and heading towards the hole?
We'd
Yeah,
have a general look around, but also I don't know these lands, but he seems to be pretty knowledgeable, so
Yeah.
he knows what's best. Maybe.
I
We
remember
hope.
the last time all of you blindly trusted an NPC. Everyone just forgot Azimir.
Well, yeah, forgot that guy.
No, we didn't. Oh, everybody except Craig blindly trusted him.
That's true.
Was that the butler?
No, he was the merchant.
No,
He was the merchant.
He was the merchant that
You
took you guys from Westcross to Kinreen, and then halfway through got you guys ambushed and nearly got Ranagash killed. But you know, there was nothing suspicious about him at all.
No, not at all.
And now I give you a genuinely suspicious character and nothing suspicious.
Well,
about
you know, the more suspicious someone actually is, the less suspicious they end up being.
That's fair.
It's inversely proportionate.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul's got it right.
What about yourself, Matthew? Would Ran be curious enough to investigate?
I feel like I would need to have a snoop, if only because I'm gonna need to find a way to get through this building that does not require climbing.
I mean,
He has got a point there.
there is a way that you can walk, but it doesn't appear very stable is the only thing. Like, Wolfric's obviously making his way through. Obviously he is quite strong, he can do a bit of a climb, but even as he's doing so, following around, the kind of direct path doesn't look very stable. So climbing might not be on the cards for you, and even walking it seems to require some finesse and some strength.
I feel he's had enough of climbing after getting down from the wall. If I had to guess.
Getting down from the wall and getting down from the tree.
Oh, the tree!
The
I do
wall-
not have a good time getting off of things.
Like, the wall went better than the tree, though. Like, the wall
Just-
didn't nearly kill you, the tree did.
Well, no, it did nearly kill me, but for different reasons.
As can you give me a wee bit of an investigation, see if you can find something that is a bit more manageable for Ranagash. That's not too bad. As you do start to, I guess, attempt to follow the rest of them, doesn't really seem the safest to go, or the most logical to go. It is obviously the way that Hyde goes, hence why probably everyone's following him that way, but you kind of curiosity lets you snoop, and it means that you can kind of find another way around. As this workshop, this warehouse, seems to have been built on several levels. Obviously, over time, the levels have kind of all become one, as the roof and building is caved into each other. But there is still some ways that you can get around. As rather than following and heading straight to the pit, I guess, Ranagash, you start to navigate yourself around. You find a little bit of the ground that has not yet been caved in by rubble. It appears that some metal beams, almost like support struts, off to one of the sides have almost created a little cave or cavern that, being a little bit more nimbler in terms of size, not in terms of actual statistics, you will be able to kind of almost weasel your way through. Where moving through, it's a lot easier than climbing, at least for Ranagash. It only takes a little bit of maneuverability to get through, and you kind of find yourselves in, I guess, what would have perhaps been a storage area for this workshop, where it would appear you kind of find what they're, or what they were refining or what they were smithing, at least by the looks of things, as the, or underneath quite a lot of the rubble, as you start to make your way around the kind of main area and towards the pit, there appears to be quite a lot of crystals. Quite a lot of them have shattered, cracked and broken, but it's like big, hefty chunks of like amethyst, where they've now obviously been crushed under the rubble, but at one point perhaps they were producing or trying to essentially refine the amethysts. A lot of them are imperfect, and perhaps they were trying to almost heat them to make them perfect. A good way to refine the crystals, perhaps. You're not too sure. Would you pay them any other mind, or would you just head to the pit? Is the way there is there?
Yeah, I don't really... I'm not into astrology or crystals, so I don't know the vibe of these things. Which ones have healing auras or whatever, so I'm just gonna...
As kind of snaking around the side, the four of you, or Ranagash, you're kind of rejoined with the four of them, with Hyde, where he's kind of almost stabbed his staff into the edge of this pit and is just balancing over the edge of it. He seems to have very little, I guess, awareness for risk or the concept of danger. He's kind of just balancing over this very rickety platform that, whilst you were able to avoid climbing, at least to get to this situation, to get to this area, the scaffolding to get down into this pit doesn't fill you with the most confidence, as it is very rotten, it is very broken, it has not been repaired in probably about 3 centuries. It's probably going to be okay for Hyde, because for what it's worth in terms of you seeing him move around, he seems to weigh nothing and seems to be able to teleport whenever he wants. For the four of you, however, you don't really have that luxury. And you will have to start walking, you will have to start making your way down this very rickety set of scaffolding, where Hyde kind of looks over the edge and you can see, even from here, this bottomless chasm, where you can hear running water at the bottom of it, but it is the echo of running water. You can't hear the water run itself, it's that reverberation coming all the way up. As he just kind of looks over the edge, points to something down below. We go there.
Can our resident dark vision havers see what he's pointing at?
Do I have that? I do.
You do. It's you and Ranagash.
What can we see?
Down into the void, down into the darkness. Probably maybe about 120, 150 feet. Like, the two of you are just seeing the edge of it with your dark vision. And even then, it's very, very obscure. You can't see exactly what he's pointing at. It doesn't even look like there's a cave or an opening where he's pointing. It's that far down. What the two of you can see is the result of a landslide, where half of this cavern is completely, or this pit has completely collapsed. The rubble and rock has completely knocked away most of the scaffolding, leaving an open break that he seems to be pointing towards. Perhaps at one point there was a cavern or a cave there, and that's where he's intending on leading you, but you can't see the mouth of that cave. You can just see the result of the rocks that have likely led to a cave-in that he's probably going to try and get you to squeeze through.
What? Down there?
we go down to go up.
Marcus, I'll be completely honest. What other options do we have?
What? There's not really much options, is there?
No, we
so
go down.
So I think we listen to the lad and we go down.
Down is up?
We go down to work our way down, and then make our way back up. Simple
What?
enough.
Presumably he's taking us through tunnels where we can come back up at a later time.
Yes.
I'm saying that to Marcusard, not you, sorry, Wolfric.
I'm agreeing with what you're saying.
Well, who's going
Let's go
first?
down. I'm happy to do
Let's
so.
go down.
I can run up walls, you're fine.
Let's go down to Goblin Town.
D&D allows people to live out various things they could not do in reality. For me, it's being able to go into tunnels deep underground without having a claustrophobia-induced panic attack.
Hey, the session's still young, Ewan.
This is like an honest question.
I've seen clips of the
no-
movie The Descent, and it terrified me.
That's actually an honest question. Do you have like a fear of caves and stuff, Ewan?
I once got stuck in caves underground.
Oh. No, okay, very reasonable. Holy shit, that must be terrifying.
And they were man-made, which is like fine, and they weren't that deep underground, but it still scared the shit out of me.
Valid.
Completely valid. Yeah, I will. If Hyde starts going down, I will simply follow, jumping from wall to wall.
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't really go down. He kind of just jumps.
Fine, I'll follow him. I will be going down the walls, but if he's jumping, I will be following, but from the walls.
Yeah.
to
Does
left
it
to
look
jump.
like there's a way that I can clamber down?
There is the scaffolding. Again, it is very rickety for yourself and your armor. It looks like it should support you. You just might have to move quite slowly. In comparison to Eidolon, who can just kind of springboard down, and Hyde, who just seems to jump and then disappear.
Do I see where he landed?
Yeah,
Like, disappears into the darkness, or just disappears, does this whole teleportation shit?
He seems to, I guess, almost disappear, jump, disappear, and then almost disappear into almost a black mist that seems to get enveloped by the darkness, and then he just disappears from your sight.
Right, do you guys want to go first, and I'll go last?
Sure.
Wolfert kind of stands politely, waiting for them to...
Waits for them to head down just that little bit.
Before this begins, am I okay to say I'm able to reach the bottom, or
You would be able to reach where Hyde is, yes.
cool? I'll wait with him down there, like essentially looking up and being ready to try catch, not Wolfric, because no chance in hell I'd be able to catch Wolfric. But if I need to be able to catch Ranagat or Marcusar, I'll be ready to.
Does he need to catch us, Em?
Well, you're not going kind of one after the other. You'll kind of pace yourselves that little bit, because, you know, you're not stupid.
Don't say that. It'll encourage them to do it the other way.
It'll encourage them to be stupid. No, it does start to shake and shudder underfoot, but at least for the two of you, you are able to start cautiously making your way down. Wolfric, you kind of wait until they're just that little bit further down, and you start making your way down after them, where it's very shaky. Like, you cannot see the bottom of this pit, and whilst the scaffolding is supporting your weight, it is swaying with every step you take. Like, it is creaking, it is cracking, it is shifting underfoot as you slowly start to descend. Where
OSHA would have a fucking field day with this place.
Oh no, OSHA's real!
I mean, to be fair, the four of you are the building inspectors after all.
Oh fuck, so we are.
I mean, yeah,
Where, OSHA?
the acronym OSHA does not include a place. So,
Yeah. It's just Occupational Safety Hazard Authority.
That's us. That's us.
That is what it stands for, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's like procedures, something.
Occupational
with a place.
Safety and Health Administration.
Administration.
Mhm.
Do we have to like, is that the goal for post-campaign? It's just for all of us to like develop all the like health and safety organizations
Well,
or
you should.
regulations.
I am moving and settling down far away from any of this shit, so I never have to touch it again.
Wolfric's
Wolfric
working
has
in a
inspired me.
Wolfric is starting a fucking restaurant. He's gonna have to know OSHA rules.
I was going to suggest that Mark starts writing up the regulations of the control of substances hazardous to health.
Yeah, and then take them.
Gosh, exactly.
How does he then create the rules if he doesn't know what they do? He needs to take them all so he knows what they do, Craig.
Exactly.
I need to illegalize the drugs. How am I going to find out which drugs are really bad? By doing all the drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Disclaimer, do not do that.
No, that's
Staying
a bad
still.
idea. No one do it.
Cowards.
Paul,
Bad idea.
no.
Paul,
That's-
you will die. Or,
I was speaking as Marcus.
In drugs, don't do school.
I remain in character at all times.
As quite a bit of time does pass, moving away from Osha and Paul's drug habits. Well, Marcusar's drug habits.
Thank you for the save.
Well, I don't think your next character's that into drugs, so it's Marcusar's drug habits.
There's time yet to write in the drug habits.
Well, it's not much
Back
of a
to this
save then, is
campaign,
it?
though. Back to this campaign.
As where Hyde takes you, or where Hyde ends up, where the 4 or 3 of you end up finding Hyde and Eidolon, is at quite a large collection of the landslide, quite a large collection of the rubble that seems to be precariously balanced on a little bit of an outcrop, where the rest of the scaffolding does seem to spiral further down, and you can start to hear the running water properly. You're obviously maybe about halfway down this pit. Maybe. Where Hyde is perched on top of the landslide, perched on top of the rubble, and when Wulfric eventually joins on this kind of platform, he hops down, again putting a little bit of an unsteady footing for the 4 of you, as it doesn't seem to bother him, but even his light foot seems to crack this scaffolding. As he goes over towards quite a small slit in the rubble. I say small, it would be big enough for him to fit through probably Marcusar and Ranagash at a push. Eidolon, Wulfric, there is no hope in hell the 2 of you would be getting through this gap, where he awkwardly kind of shuffles through this kind of bag of random junk that he has brought with him. This kind of collection of wires, pry bars, hooks, planks of wood that he has collected and decided that are very important for this journey. He takes through maybe a kind of 2x4 beam that he's just been kind of hefting around in his bag, and starts to prop up some of the rocks, widening the gap ever so slightly, where for him it's easy for him to get through. Marcusar ran, it'll be easy for the 2 of you to get through. Eidolon and Wulfric, it's big enough that you'll be able to get through, but it's really awkward that you say you don't like claustrophobic spaces, Ewan, because I didn't plan for that.
The burden of bulk.
I knew Wulfric being an absolute fucking hench will come to bite him at some point.
It took us 43 episodes, and now you're being punished.
Being punished for being swole.
As essentially for Marcusar, Ranagash, the 2 of you would be able to kind of almost squeeze, crouch, and kind of get through here. For Eidolon, Wulfric, you 2 would have to almost go prone and go on your side and get through.
Can either of you cast a spell that perhaps could turn me briefly into a small thing?
A small thing.
I'm gonna give Wulfric a nod, give him a good luck nod, and I'm going to use my greaves, which let me teleport, as in become a flurry of leaves and just go through.
I'm going to make it known right now.
There's a whistle. There's a whistle on the leaves which just say "good luck."
Eidolon in leaf form goes through the gap and disappears.
Said, yeah, I just walk forward, sort of kick up slightly, and then from the boot, it's just turning into leaves.
Wulfric just like pushes himself through.
I'm not risking collapsing this place. I'm
Just
turning into
like-
leaves.
Just like squeezes his way through very uncomfortably, then like gets up and stands with the rest of them.
Can I get
That was so uncomfortable.
Can I get a dex save, Wulfric?
Oh no!
Oh no.
I will.
At least he gets his own bonus.
I will also need one from Ran and Marcusar coming through as well, but Wulfric will head through.
Oh no!
Or not.
Wulfric's about to fucking cunt himself.
I'm happy
Do
I
we still
turned
get
into
we still get his
leaves.
+4 on the saves?
Well, interesting fact about that. So, Eidolon obviously goes through his leaves. Hyde obviously makes his way through. Wolfric kind of bites the bullet and comes through the uncomfortability of it. It is very uncomfortable for you, Wolfric. Your armor, you can feel it scraping, you can feel it knocking, you can feel the stones start to dislodge and even start to almost press on your side, press on your chest as you're moving through. The space just seems to get smaller and smaller until thankfully you take a breath and almost barrel roll out the other side with Eidolon and Hyde standing in front of you. Kind of taking a breath and just exclaiming how uncomfortable the whole experience was before the ground starts to shake. And several of the rocks that obviously moving through you've dislodged start to reactivate the landslide as the gap that has been made for obviously the four of you to get through caves in and collapses. Where
Cool. Very cool.
Eidolon, Wolfric, you're on one side of the landsliding cave-in with Hyde, and Ranagash and Marksar, you're still on the scaffolding. Can you two give me a dexterity saving throw? And no, you won't have Wolfric's bonus.
Swell.
I was under the impression I was going last.
Joys of my boys not speaking up. Hey, that's not too bad though. Positive, Ran, you don't fall.
That's always good.
Neither do you, Marksar. As the two of you are able to bypass the sliding rubble, you're able to kind of avoid the scaffolding, obviously readying yourselves to pass through with Wolfric and obviously jumping back kind of in the nick of time, where you are able to position yourselves on the platform. There is still a bit of a furrow through, there is still a bit of an airway where you can hear them on other side. Eidolon, Wolfric, you are able to hear that obviously Ranagash and Marksar are okay, they didn't fall. You can hear them kind of almost that gasp, that sigh on the other side of the stone wall, where Hyde kind of looks back almost in a state of confusion, seeing that there's only two of you there. Where are others?
Alright, who's missing? My brain blanked there for a second.
Marksar, Ranagash, still on the other side of the wall.
Dark Vision gang.
The Dark Vision gang, yeah.
Please tell me there's another way here.
Yes. They go down. We go down to meet them.
Further down.
To the bottom.
Yes, let's go further down.
Okay, I'm going to activate my visage
Mm-hmm.
and project my voice so that those two can hear me through the rubble.
Mm-hmm.
The kid says to keep going down. We'll meet you down there. Saying this specifically to Ranagash.
Can I try something first?
Are you saying that to me?
Yes.
Oh yeah, you have message. We can do
I was
this.
going to say, not only do I have, I have message, and I can also teleport. I feel like we're forgetting that.
Can Mark
teleport? Yes.
What you trying, Matthew?
Dimension door, you know?
Yes!
Just-
Yes! I was just thinking about Dimension Door! Yes!
Ewan's popping off for a spell he doesn't have.
What's
It's
the
best fucking spell!
What's the opposite of a heated gaming moment? Because I think that's what Ewan's having.
What's the opposite of a gamer? A functioning member of society. Better word
Chill,
than that.
functioning member of society moment.
A chill for society moment. As
Anyway,
what's the actual logistics of Dimension Door?
let me give you a quick read.
He needs to describe it.
Oh, thank God.
You tell.
There's only two of you on that side because you could only teleport.
I was gonna
one.
say, yeah, you teleport yourself from your current location to another spot within range. You revive at exactly the spot desired. It can be a place you can see, one you can visualize, or one you can describe by seeing this directions. Blah 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 blah. You can bring along objects as long as they're right to exceed what you can carry, and you can also bring along one willing creature of your size or smaller.
Let's just hope Rand's measurements size up correctly.
Okay.
Is it like literally like height, or is it just like we're both classes medium or whatever?
Yeah, it's medium.
Yeah, so it's
That's fine.
Yeah, because I'm fairly certain you're taller.
Just as long as he doesn't give measurements to like teleport inside of the wall.
So here's the kind of the catch-22 of Dimension Door, at least in this set. You can't see where you're going, which means you're gonna have to describe a direction to me.
Alternatively, I have clairvoyance, so I can
Gonna
see.
double up?
I'm gonna double up. I'm not going down further. That's gonna kill me.
You don't know that.
I'm not willing to take the risk. Do
The
you know how many?
location. Has he seen the other side of it before? I assume yes.
There is also that.
You'll have been able to see through the gap.
Hmm.
So you can say it's like, oh, it's 5 feet that way.
Or if I can just visualize what the inside of the tunnel looks like.
Okay, so essentially what you'd be able to do is you'd be able to conjure the sensor. Obviously where you saw the exit to the gap, because you've got dark vision, so you'll be able to see the exit and put the sensor there. And then when the sensor is there, you'll then be able to see the area around the sensor to then dimension door. So that you're not dimension dooring into Wolfric, Eidolon, or Hyde, and subsequently not into a brick wall.
Yeah, I don't want the wall clip.
Yes, that would be very, very bad.
What's the number? Oh yeah, 46 force damage. Not a fan.
No, I would definitely advise not taking 46 force damage. That would be bad.
Also, it just makes the spell auto fail, which is kind of just sad.
Yeah. Well, you can, to be fair, it would be funnier if the spell still succeeded, but you took the 46 force damage because you were just ejected from the solid object.
Now that would be funny.
Like, that would just be funny.
No clip.
Essentially, yeah.
Odd mode active. There we go.
/ teleport.
We get around the rubble by grabbing a physics object and using it to clip through the rubble.
Does anyone have a bowl?
No. Yeah, as I was about to say, just place a bowl down, like hover above you and just walk forward, and you'll just go through eventually.
Yeah.
It just works.
The music starts blaring.
As, yes, using the 2 spells, Ranagash, obviously that is a 3rd and, what, a 5th level slot? 4th level?
3rd and a 4th.
Slot.
What
That's
great use.
Some big boy slots there, so that you just don't have to go down further.
Listen, I've had so many brushes with death I could paint a picture.
Is it a pretty picture?
Yo, that
Well, no,
quote goes hard.
It's entirely just death.
Feel free to screenshot.
As using your clairvoyance, you're able to try and visualize the area that you would have come out to, that the cavern would have led you to, or the I guess opening would have led you to. You're able to kind of see the area around it, this kind of small open space that it does seem to have a path that leads further down into the earth, but primarily it has Eidolon, Wolfric and Hyde in it, this small open space, where there is obviously space for you and you and Marcusar to teleport through using your dimension door, giving you, I guess, a familiar surrounding within the distance for you to teleport to. How does your dimension door look? Is it a door, or do you just grab Marcusar by the collar and then bippity boppity boop out of existence?
Yeah, I think we essentially just bamf. Because, like, doors don't exist in Maiar.
That's true, actually, yeah.
He doesn't know what it looks like. He can't make a door.
Do you give him the warning, or do you just teleport him?
No, I think it's funnier if I just grab him.
Marcusar, can you give me a Constitution saving throw?
Do I get the +4?
No.
Come on.
Hey, Paul, you're maybe fine.
Marcusar, this is the kind of like, I guess, first big time that you've kind of just almost apparated. You've kind of disappeared, reappeared, you've teleported. Your head is spinning. You feel kind of nauseous. It almost feels like someone just ripped you apart and put you back together again almost in an instant.
That's what teleportation is. Is teleportation transferring the first object or destroying the first object and recreating an exact replica at a different location?
So does this mean this is Marcusar number 4?
Well, but I have all the same memories as the first one. So am I a different Marcusar? So this is a very important question.
You're not a ship that we have taken apart and re-put back together.
This is not a ship of Theseus moment. This is a what the fuck is going on moment.
No, this is a really, like, people really question this stuff. Is like, if we do teleportation, is it ethical to, like, create? Is it like, are you actually teleporting
really
someone?
Same person? Are
you taking all these atoms and moving them elsewhere, or are you destroying the first one and creating a new one?
Else.
I'm taking this argument and I'm rebutting it with a quote from a fucking chef on a daytime television show. If my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bike.
Exactly.
Fucking Gino.
It's just
As
when Spock and Kirk get teleported, that version of them dies. It's a
Okay, so if Paul wants to use this logic, then Marcusar just died, which means he needs to roll a
Again.
new character.
no, because this, thankfully, is not science fiction. This is fantasy, so we can just make it whatever we want it to be. That I'm asking, what is it? Am I getting destroyed, and an identical version of me is getting created, or am I is every atom of me getting
Being
teleported
moved.
to a different location?
you're being moved.
Yeah.
Opening its dimension door. What is happening is a door in reality is being opened that you are stepping through and is producing you at a predetermined location. So it's not you're being disintegrated, it's just you're simply folding reality to step through a door.
Okay, so it is still me.
Yes.
It's still you, you're just folding reality around. Rather than you bending to reality's whims, you are bending reality to enable you to perform movement that is otherwise impossible.
Well, that's my question answered. Thank you very much, Ewan.
There
Anyway,
you
back
go.
to D&D.
As
That took far
Glad to be
too
of
long.
service.
That took far too long.
Thank you for your service.
I don't remember casting the spell summon philosophical debate.
Summon
as
Socrates?
The four of you are back together again. Eidolon, you obviously give Ranagash the message to head further down, that you would meet them further down. That's what Hyde advised, and giving Ranagash a moment, giving Ranagash a minute, seemed to be all that was needed, as him and Marcus are now in this small cavern, this small cave with the three of you. As it would appear that they don't need to go further down, as they've just teleported.
Perfect.
Well, that works far better. Let's go.
As just before you begin your journey down into the caves, into these almost very damp and dark caves where even Ranagash with your 9 passive, you can almost hear a cracking noise in amongst the sound of running water and dripping stalactites. This kind of almost eggshell cracking noise.
Wonderful.
We will take a short break, because now is an appropriate time, but I won't say why.
Din-dins. I need to make my dinner.
Well, that's. I mean, that is an appropriate time, but it's not like what I was thinking. But yes, we will see you all in just a little bit. I caught you all in dead silence and Ewan's found something funny.
Show us. Share.
It wasn't funny.
Then what was it?
It was just I was checking the TV tropes page for Critical Role.
I'm watching the latest episode after we finish playing.
Okay, yeah, it's about the latest episode, so like.
There you go. As we come back from break, portents are as they were. My boys are not separated, as Matthew said, fuck that, to having to go and deep dive into the cave. And
We're
teleported
trapped.
him,
Yes. Well, actually, no.
him and Marcus are into the cave with everyone else. I mean, it doesn't really solve the problem of you having to go or not having to go further down. It just means you're not doing it alone with Marcusar.
A fate worse than death.
Well, maybe.
Did I speak too soon?
As the four of you start to follow Hyde through the caverns, and you do start descending, where there are some portions of the cave where it's not a steady decline. It is like almost like a sheer drop where he quite happily hops down. And for the four of you, well, for the three of you, ignoring Eidolon, it's a bit more of a clamber down. You are able to kind of almost hop down, but it's still just that little bit that it's always uncomfortable when you do it, and it means that descent is a little bit more exhausting, a little bit more tiring than you'd expect. It's not quite the easy climb, and it's not quite the smooth passage. There's a lot of points where the cave seems to narrow, the walls start to thin, where whoever was tunneling this before, clearly this is kind of portions and sections that they weren't that they hadn't tunneled properly, or over the years have just deteriorated and collapsed. You can see a lot of rotten and broken supports that make things quite difficult for you to squeeze through, as Hyde seems to lead you guys through. Where the four of you start to hear almost a faster flow of water. You're getting closer and closer to this kind of underground river that seems to flow through these caves, and, well, would you have lit any other form of light other than Ariane, Wolfric's axe? Because obviously two of the boys have dark vision. This doesn't seem to be impeding Hyde at all, but obviously for
I still have
Wolfric.
I still have my visage up from
So
when I
you're
tried
fine.
to talk to Ranagash, so I've got dark vision right now.
So you'll have your dark vision, so it'll just be Wolfric, to which case I'm assuming your axe will do you just fine, Wolfric. Unless you do want to light a torch or anything. Make it a bit brighter in here.
No, I haven't lit any light or anything.
You got your axe. You using
We
it?
got the axe. We don't need anything else, really.
So you're working with minimal light, which is fine. So it's more dim light than bright light, but you are able to see where you're going as Hyde takes you through these corridors. Where, for Ranagash, you will get to see kind of the deposits of where a lot of the crystals from upstairs came from. As the four of you start to move through, and start to almost move through crystalline caves, where embedded into the walls, embedded into the ceiling, and embedded into the floor are huge crystals. Some almost like pillars coming from the floor to the ceiling, where it's quite strange in terms of a crystalline formation, as obviously crystals grow. That's just what happens. But these crystals seem to take it to a whole new level in terms of growing. They almost seem to have what looks like roots or vines, something a little bit more organic, almost breaking from them and seeding themselves into the ground, attaching themselves to the ceiling. Perhaps at once you probably just assume it to be vegetation, but just out of the corner of your eyes, kind of moving through, it seems a bit more of an abnormality, as there is no vegetation in these caves. It is obviously quite damp, it is quite wet, but there's nothing growing. These almost tendrilled roots coming from these crystals seem to be coming from the crystals themselves as you're moving through these caves. And again, as you're moving through and kind of moving through, along with the sound of running water, the sound of cracking seems to start getting louder, where on occasion there's almost like a glass sound, almost like glass smashing or ceramic smashing somewhere in the caves, that just seems to echo as if something has broken.
Does any noise seem to follow that, or is it just the cracking?
It just seems to be the cracking, the breaking, and occasionally the sound of running water intermingled with the static. As Hyde doesn't seem to pay much mind, though you've kind of gotten used to him paying very little mind to a lot of things. As, at least in terms of the crystals, they don't seem to be causing him any bother, as, well, he doesn't really seem to be much of a walker, as he kind of prefers to jump between them, climbing them, rolling beyond them, almost using them as a ballast to increase his movement speed as he's moving through these caves. As, would the four of you do anything, or would you just continue?
Probably at least slow down a little bit, just to keep a more steady eye out. Clearly something's happening, but if Hyde does not seem to be worried by it, there's, I guess, not much more to say.
Yeah, it's like, he's from here, he lives here, if they don't bother him, we should be fine.
We look to our leader, Hyde, and he instills bravery in us.
I like how that's how Marcusar is viewing this situation. Wolfric's viewing it like Hyde's a baby on a leash. This isn't oh my god, he's our savior, he's the only way that knows through. It's, what's that, lassie? Timmy's fallen in the well.
He's like those kids. He's like those toddlers you see at amusement parks that actually have a leash on them. They're just, oh, going this
I feel
way.
it's a perspective to take, but we also need to remember that he did murder a bunch of the things that we almost died to.
Dogs murder things all the time.
Dogs also can't speak.
This guy can barely speak. He doesn't know what food is. Wolfric described several verbs to him, and he didn't know any of them.
Ewan, if you grew up in a desert and never spoke to people, you would not have much of an impression of English either.
He's a feral child, okay? He's a feral child.
Child. Okay, it's Peter Pan meets Tarzan.
Yeah, that's pretty apt. He's Tarzan of the Apes.
Peter Tarpan. That was sweet.
Do not say that.
This is why I need for it. Emotional support for it. As the four of you obviously start moving around, you kind of slow your pace. Hyde doesn't seem to slow his, but obviously the four of you keep him in sight, so you're just kind of being a little bit more perceptive. As you suddenly get to, I wouldn't say an opening, it's still part of the cavern, it's still part of the cave, though it seems to be more of a, or what would have been at one point, a central hub for the kind of refining and mining facility, where there are a lot more offshoots, and at least for the four of you, it seems very strange here as all of a sudden, well, they've kind of been disappearing every so often. The number of crystals you can see have kind of just been decreasing as you've been going along, but it was a mine. Maybe this is just where they mined out. You've not really paid it much mind, though in this area there are no crystals. There are none. Even heading down into these caverns, there is none of them growing. And Hyde just seems to stop dead, almost looking between several of the pathways, several of the corridors, several of the openings. Perhaps not with an expression the four of you would want to see, as he looks confused.
What is it, boy?
Don't you start, Paul.
What appears to be the situation?
I can't remember where to go.
I have no memory of this place.
It is not the same.
Okay, but what brought that on?
I navigate this place, and now it is different.
This is reassuring.
I can't remember
Okay.
which one to go.
What is different?
There were stones here. There are no longer stones here.
What did the stones look like? Were they marked, or were they just regular stones?
As he kind of looks around the room, Eidolon, Wolfric, Marksar, Ranagash can, well, the three of you can see it. Ranagash, give me a perception check.
Low whiz, loser.
Just want to see if he noticed. Hey!
You know what? I'll take that back.
Silence
Don't shit
Paul.
the book until he rolls.
As the four of you, Ranagash, it'll probably be something that has been in the back of your mind now for quite some time, something that kind of been noticed, but again, this is a mine, this is a refinery, it's perhaps something that has struck you as strange but not being too abnormal for this location until Hyde starts talking. And the four of you watch as he kind of kicks around the ground a little bit and picks up a shard, quite a big chunk of a crystal. And as obviously the four of you are a little bit more aware of it, you actually notice that the ground around this area, whilst covered in a lot of dust, seems to be strewn with broken crystals. With Ranagash, you noticing several of these broken crystals on the way here. As he picks it up and shows it to Marcusar. It looked like this, but not broken.
So there was a non-broken crystal which marked the way.
There were lots. I went by the I guess the shape, but they're broken.
Who or what broke them?
He kind of shrugs. Nothing has ever been down here except me, and well, I don't break them. If I broke them, I wouldn't know where I was going.
Wolfric, you kill monsters.
Yes.
This sound like anything to you?
What does it sound like? Anything? Any kind of monster I would know? Like burrows through the ground?
I mean, there's worms, there's basilisks. They tend to burrow. There is, I guess the thing that kind of strikes you is looking around, there is no new shifted earth, which means it's likely not something that's come through here, to burrow through here and knocked over the crystals. There are not really any tracks in the stone. There's no skid marks, there's no claw marks, there's no shifted earth. It just seems to be the broken crystals. If a creature was here, it's perhaps an invisible creature, but at that point, if it's invisible, why break the crystals?
Strange. Okay, so it's not a worm, or a basilisk, or a bullet.
Forgot about bullets. It's not one of them, but I forgot they also are a burrowing creature.
That's the first thing. Whenever I'm like burrowing creature in D&D, bullet is my first thought.
As instead I'd turn to Ranagash and Marksar. Anything you two can work out about this? Natural, crystals, magic? As I say magic, I'd instead turn to Ranagash.
Shade.
I can detect magic too, you asshole.
I know, but I'm letting you do the nature side and hoping he knows the magic side.
Crystals are very natural, so...
Hence, I'm looking at you.
I'm going to, detect magic. See if that does anything.
Well, the first thing you notice is this happened to Ranagash, as Hyde almost blinds you. As you're not really
Hold on.
prepared for it. You have sunglasses.
He's committed. He's going through with it. There we go.
Jesus, Hyde. Turn that down, would you mind? Who do you think pays the lecky bill?
Himself?
As Hyde is very bright. He is essentially irradiating magic, but in terms of the crystals themselves, they don't really appear to be magic. They don't have really any magic to them. They don't give off a magical signature. The crystals themselves have magical properties, but all crystals have magical properties, hence their ability to create arcane focuses.
Can I... Obviously, all these crystals in front of us are broken, and that would imply that perhaps they're magic, because since after being broken, their magic is dissipated. Can I sense any magic in any of the... Because we're in an area where there's several corridors leading off, right? Can I sense in any of those corridors magic off that way? It's well, maybe this is the way to go.
Nope.
No.
No magic.
Well, that's frustrating.
Would Ranagash be doing anything?
I mean, if Marcusar is detecting magic, there's not I cannot nature the way he natures, and I do not have
I did check to see if crystals count as plants.
No.
So I could just grow some new crystals.
They count as rocks.
But do they grow?
It's not just a boulder.
Paul, you grow. Are you a plant? Do not contemplate that. Do not ponder that.
He's been very philosophical tonight.
I know. Don't know what's gone into him. It must be all the tea.
It's all the tea.
As would Ran do anything? Even just his own investigations or his own detect magics?
I mean, if I can see that Marcusar has been visibly blinded, then I don't think there's a point in also blinding myself.
don't want to be blinded again.
Been there, done that. Can I just like investigate? I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't think I'm
you can give me an investigation.
just examine.
Examine the area.
Vibe check. That's like the second time I've done that.
That is genuinely the second time you've done that. As investigating them, picking them up and moving them around, it's not something that maybe he did notice and it just doesn't bother him, or maybe he didn't notice and it's something you've picked up on, you're not too sure. But as you're kind of fiddling around, picking up the crystals, picking up the bits of stones, just to have a look at them, see if you can find any claw marks, any bite marks, how they broke, trying to investigate that aspect of it, whilst you see Marcusar blinding himself in the background. You notice that whilst the outside of the crystal is hard, still like a rock, when you pick it up and the inside of the break is almost wet, like slimy.
Oh no.
So the outside is completely fine, it's just like a hard rock crystal. The inside has that, I guess almost slime or yolky texture to it.
Rock, egg, rock, egg, rock, egg, rock, egg.
Don't say it.
It's one of those like hard candies that's got like a soft, chewy middle.
You want to try it, Paul? Do you want to see if
Fucking
it's edible?
Werther's Originals. We've just found a cave full of Werther's Originals.
Where's the grandmother to provide them to us, though?
Crunch, the forbidden candy.
Grandmother Earth.
Grandmother Earth. It is her gift to us. Whilst they're investigating, I'll keep watch to make sure nothing happens whilst they're looking around.
How long does detect magic last?
Instantaneous. It's like a second.
Yeah.
Is it?
No, I think it's 10 minutes, honey.
Yep, 10 minutes.
Is it?
It's 10 minutes.
My moment's 10 minutes, so I'll take these glasses off.
It is. I'm thinking
so-
of Divine Sense. I'm thinking of the Paladin thing.
As can Wolfric, Ranagash, and Marcusar, can you give me wisdom saving throws?
Oh, like that one.
You have Wolfric's bonus of a +4.
Yes!
Why do I not have to make this?
Because you don't have the ability to cast magic.
Oh!
Hey.
I can roll 30s too, Craig.
You can roll 30s too. I get proficiency in wisdom saves next level, Paul. We'll see who's laughing.
Oh god.
You have proficiency in all saves next level, so
Including death saves.
one.
If I get
only.
Wolfric's bonus on top of my proficiency to death saves, I physically cannot fail a death save.
Because you always have a... Would you always have a +10?
No, because if I don't roll a nat 1, my minimum is 2, and then 2 plus 9 is 11.
Oh, of course.
As,
Unkillable, unless you get reduced to so many hit points.
Unless I get a nat 1, I can't fail a death save.
as Ranagash, can you also give me a perception check? I'll give you advantage because you rolled a nat 20 last time.
20, each one, -1.
Hey!
Surprised.
As obviously Ranagash, you're conducting your investigations. Marcusar, you're doing magical investigations. Wolfric, Eidolon, you'll probably be keeping a little eye out. Wolfric probably trying to think of, I guess, creatures that could be here as Ranagash is finding this, I guess, rock egg, as you and so aptly described it. As the ground starts to shake from several of the caverns, several of the openings. It's almost like a pulse, one after the other. As Eidolon and Wolfric, just because you're keeping a little eye out, in the maws of the different caves and the maws of the different caverns attached to the ceilings, on the floors, on the walls, you start to see almost like different coloured glowing eyes starting to appear in the darkness. And as they do so, around the, well, probably their heads, their backs, these almost crystalline spikes, these spines starting to illuminate on their backs, as you can start to hear almost a scuttling noise crawling across the cavern floors and crawling towards you, as when they start to come into the light, these almost mantis style, so kind of big, really thin legs, arms up the front, and almost rows upon rows of teeth, and this kind of almost carapace jaw starts to kind of charge towards the 4 of you and Hyde, as I need the 4 of you to roll me some initiative.
Let's go.
That's a fun image. Well, Matthew, your rolls are kind of just descending today.
I'm okay with that.
We're back to Matthew.
What? Why do we never do initiative right?
This is why you.
Why does
all
initiative just
suck.
not work?
Right, I'll do the bugs first because the bugs are easy, and I think they all rolled better than you idiots.
But that actually raises a further question.
Oh no.
Craig, why do you as a monk have 17 dexterity?
Why is that a question?
You hit things with your dexterity.
Yeah?
No, he's astral self. Doesn't he hit things with his wisdom?
I can hit things with my wisdom, but I do use a sword, which means I hit things with my dexterity. Because I wanted to prioritize wisdom, Ewan.
Okay, I was just curious.
If you're curious, my next ASI, whenever that happens, I intend to bump my 17 dex to an 18.
He
Poggers.
is plus
Just
2
curious.
as well. Which
Yeah,
is
that's
still
like I know I
higher.
really should have higher dex at this point, Ewan. I
Mhm.
just don't, because I thought perception was funnier.
Yeah, this is literally his reason. As you all rolled horribly in initiative,
Great.
We know.
Mhm.
which
We
means
know.
I get to go first. A lot.
Oh no.
Oh, that's multiple times. Lots is more than once.
A lot is more than once. I've never used these before, which makes me excited, but it also makes me kind of scared because I've got a lot to look at right now.
I'm scared. I'm just.
Just in general.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As technically Eidolon Wolfric.
I don't
Oh,
like
boy.
that.
You should like
Ow.
that, Ewan. You're the big strong boy.
Oh yeah. I never mind.
Ewan
I take it back.
momentarily forgets that he has hit points.
I don't know why I'm like this. I'm the tank in every D&D campaign I'm playing in right now.
And like, you get scared when you get told you're the one getting targeted.
I'm so used to playing characters with low hit points.
See,
Like, then when
I
you're
never play a character with high hit points, so I'm always the scared one.
Also, I think it has been 10 minutes, so you can maybe de-shade
10 minutes out of game or in game?
out of game.
I'm in the tunnel, sees the giant mantis coming towards us like, dear God.
oh, this is when you have to own 2 pairs of sunglasses so that you can wear one
Take
on top of
sunglasses
the
off
other.
and then have more sunglasses underneath.
This
uh,
fucking looks like it's really gonna bug us. Yeah!
You
You know
Ewan with
what?
every attack.
I was gonna feel bad about this. I don't feel bad about this anymore, Ewan. As Wolfric
Looks
says,
like we're getting preyed upon.
I'm gonna kill you as well. As your AC is now
Man,
20,
this sucks.
Yes.
which means a 15 won't hit, a 17 won't hit, but a 26 and a natural 20 will hit.
Well,
Yes.
there's why she doesn't feel bad anymore.
It's exactly why I don't feel bad anymore. Making stupid, shitty jokes like that.
I thought they were funny.
My mom thinks I'm cool.
Does your mom think you're cool?
I'd like to think so.
That's all that matters then.
As Wolfric, you will take. That's 1 set of damage. So the first set of damage is 17.
Well, that's a lot.
The second set of damage is 34. 17 doubled.
Okay.
Uh,
51 total.
as one of these things, actually 2 of them, almost barrel out of these caves, almost spiraling along the ceiling. The almost pincers of their claws start to, or their legs start to drive into the ground as they pick up speed, as they just come and very quickly, very deftly, almost start slicing into you with these kind of almost razor sharp claws, these mandibles. Though you do notice in terms of their fighting style that their tails also seem to be quite prehensile. As they are fighting you and moving around, you can see in the background, though they're not using them at the moment, these tails with these crystalline spikes on the end actively moving around and actively moving around you. Gives you something else to watch and worry about as they are attacking you. as Eidolon. That would be a non-nat 20 and a 14.
Also, I've not casted shield in a really long time, because either everything has missed horribly or hit way over budget. So what is happening? Because I will cast shield.
As down another one of these corridors, very similar to Wolfric, 2 more of these creatures start to spiral around the corridor, almost moving towards you. It's one of them kind of comes up, almost getting you to move. They seem quite intelligent in that sense of they drive their claw into the ground to get you to shift, and then as that one misses, the tail comes round, almost start to try and grab a hold of you. Actually grab a hold of you to grapple you. Obviously, are you shielding?
Yes, if the tail comes around, if like there's like a pincer to it that tries to get me, just backhand it out of the way, forcing it back down from impact. I'm assuming I didn't have to make the save before because my magic is through magic items and not actual casting.
You cannot. The exact definition is cast spells.
Okay. Yeah, I use it through magic items. That makes sense.
You cannot cast a spell. It's the trigger of a magic item.
That makes sense. Thank you.
I
I just wanted to check.
Don't get me wrong. They knew you were here, hence they attacked you because they can sense your magic item. The additional effect, however, can't affect you because you don't physically cast spells.
Cool. Thank you.
Ewan didn't like that.
How many of them are there? Just
At
in total right now.
this point in time, there's 2 attacking Wolfric, there is 1 attacking you, there is another one you can see in the distance in that corridor, and then there are 2 coming down from another corridor. 6 in total.
That is a lot.
As I'm gonna give Hyde an investigation check, as he's still trying to work out where the fuck you're going, as he doesn't actually know what these things are.
Well, he's just led us down into a tunnel that he doesn't know anything about, and there are giant crystal insects trying to eat us.
And if it makes you feel any better, he has no fucking clue where
That makes it worse, actually.
as despite actually having pretty good intelligence, he rolled very subpar.
Cool.
Well, time to do what we do best, boys. Murder.
Oh boy.
As you can see Hyde moving around, you can see Hyde trying to look around to see where to go. He doesn't really have much of an idea on where to go, and instead he kind of, whilst trying to keep himself free and unoccupied, he kind of almost buries his hand into the ground beneath it, his hand almost melding with the stone. As you watch as the ground starts to crack and bubble under the feet of yourself, Ranagash and Marcusar, these scores start to appear on the ground, as it's almost as if the blight is travelling through the ground. As several of the broken bits of crystal that are around your feet start to almost vibrate and shudder, almost bouncing and levitating above the ground, as they all start to get dragged towards a central point and start to form a beast. Completely morphed between crystal and blight, using the energy of the blight to keep it corporeal, but using the crystals as almost a skeleton, a body, as a almost very twisted and contorted dog appears, with its jaw almost cracking into place as the last of the crystals form, as it is going to attempt to attack. Moving after him. And you are allies.
I'd hope so.
Which is always positive.
Unless this was his plan, just lead us into insects and murder
then
us.
let you all die, because the insects don't seem to be bothering him as of yet. Well, the dog's useful. That's helpful. As Ranagash Marksar, you could obviously see this. You see this creature form before you, and it seems to barrel itself into the darkness, into the cavern that is before the 2 of you, and you watch as one of these kind of glowing crystalloid insectoid creatures is dragged to the floor, as this thing, literally from a standing leap, jumps up towards the ceiling and grabs a hold of it, bringing it down to the ground, as the doggo is very helpful.
That's a good boy.
Good doggo. It's not a lot of damage, but it's still damage, nonetheless.
Hey, every
See,
little helps.
as it like knocked him prone, like?
It is knocked it prone, yes.
It is a good doggo.
As Doggo seems to be quite engaged with this creature for now, which has probably saved either Marcus or Ranagash from getting attacked. As I have to roll for another one of the hunters coming to attack Eidolon. That is a natural 20 and a 26.
Shockingly, both of those hit. 26 is an almost, but nat 20 is definitely a hit.
As I will...
Are either of these projectiles?
No. Both of them are not projectiles. As it doesn't seem to be going for its tail, it doesn't seem to be attempting to spike you, it almost seems to be attempting to kind of knock you off balance or knock you into its friend. They seem to be fighting very almost like pack tactics. They are trying to almost surround you and get you that way.
Wouldn't happen to be poison damage?
It's not, no. As that is 14 damage on the first hit, so the non-crit first, and
That's actually
then
really nice.
42 damage on the crit.
Alright, I'm still looking fun.
As these things start to cut and carve into you. As Craig, it is now your go. It is now Eidolon's go.
I was going to ask Wolfric if he wanted any help. I've kind of got a situation here. So, I'm going to draw the blade, and first off, I'm just going to attack the one that managed to crit me, because I don't like him very much.
It's okay, he doesn't like you very much either.
Currently in a state of disdain with his existence, so... did you say I'm restrained or anything, or...?
No, it's with they're not attacking you with their tail, at least not at this point. They're almost trying to back you into a corner with these kind of very large, almost pincer-like claws.
Yeah, I don't like that, so I'm going to try kill the one that was actually able to hit me. I'm going to try, at least. Where's my plus bonus? There it is. As that is a 18 and a 24 for sword slashes.
18 and a 24 will hit.
He takes 29 points of damage.
Ouch.
As essentially taking the blade, cleaving up, to imagine it knocks it back ever so slightly, taking the sword down and stabbing into the wound I made. Can it make me a constitution saving throw?
It can try. Oh, these actually things have very interesting proficiencies. Non-nat 20.
That's a pass. Can it make me another one?
22.
That is another pass. Can it make me a dexterity saving throw?
12.
Both of them, actually.
12 and a 4.
Both of those fail. So it's not stunned. However, both of them are hit as the sort of tendrils come wrapping out from... I've not damaged anything with my arms like this for a very long time. As the arms almost spiral out and tornado around. Not impaling into them, but almost just slashing past them as they whirlwind. How much damage is that? It's 3d8 for both of them. As they both take 16 force damage. Sadly, I cannot attempt to stun with that also.
That would be
But
kinda
that
cool
is
if
to
you
both
could
of them.
Put that, like, if your arms almost counted as an additional way to stun. That could be cool.
I mean, they can when I'm punching with them,
Yeah,
but
like,
I don't think
like
the
on
activation
it could have
counts.
been cool because it's an extension of yourself, but
I can give a Google, but I don't think it
I
does.
don't think it
Because
does.
I think it's when you hit with... No, not Monk the TV series. I want Monk 5e.
There's
I
a
love
TV
Monk the
series.
TV. Yeah, it's about It's about a crime scene investigator with obsessive compulsive disorder.
When you hit another creature with a melee weapon attack, whilst this is bonus action, dexterity saving throw, take force damage equal to 2 rolls, but my magic item makes it 3 rolls. But that's my turn. I hope they're not looking good, because I don't want them to be.
One of them is not looking great, the other's fine.
As the tendrils sort of wrap around Whirlwind until they coil back around, go up the arm, and reform that sort of large wing-style tendril.
As this one is not too
Because
happy.
I played Sephiroth in Smash.
As this one's not too happy with Hyde's doggo, so it's going to try and kill Hyde's doggo.
How rude.
That's my 4th nat 20.
Can you stop? Like,
I would like
politely?
Getting all the good rolls out of the way so then they'll just keep failing later.
to. I think this will probably kill Hyde's doggo, which kind of makes me sad.
Best to get critted when you're at full health.
I disagree, fundamentally.
I'd rather get critted when you're at low health.
Yeah, because then I can just kind of... I'd actually prefer to be critted when I'm really low, because then it means I just go down normally.
10 hit points.
Oh, fair.
Actually, no, it's got more hit points than I thought it did. So it actually has 45 hit points, not 37, which means it's not dead. The dog is still alive. Because that's 12, 15. Not by much, but the dog is still alive.
It will survive.
Actually, no, it's on 10 hit points. I lied to myself.
We save this doggo.
He's a good boy. He defended Marcusar. This thing was going to attack Marcusar this turn.
Oh, good boy defended me.
It's a little... I know you can't see it because it's a white bit of paper and I don't want you to see the initiative anyway, but the one I have on there has a little M next to it because it's Marcusar's one, which means it would have attacked you, but it didn't because the doggo was there.
Good boy. Can I adopt him?
No, it's Hyde's.
Oh, it's Hyde's.
It's Hyde's crystal doggo. As you and its Wolfric's go. There's 2 of these things attacking you.
I'm gonna take a swing at one.
That will miss. That'll hit.
The dichotomy of man.
Yeah. To be fair, I feel Wolfric just hates it when I go that'll miss because every time he rolls his next die, it's always something stupid.
Yeah.
And then 18 points of radiant damage total.
Spicy. It's still looking pretty good, but it almost seems like the radiant, the holy light, seems to be able to cut through its carapace a lot faster, a lot quicker than just normal stone, like a normal metal or a normal steel. It seems perhaps a little bit more resistant to normal weaponry.
Well, it's a good thing none of us use that.
Exactly. Well, apart from Ranagash, but he doesn't really use his hand axe.
Go off.
As Paul.
Yes. What is attacking, and what orientation are they?
So Eidolon and Wolfric are on your left. They are both being attacked by 2, so there are 4 evil things on your left. In the corridor directly in front of you, there are 2 more. One is currently being preoccupied by the doggo, the other is not.
So I've got 4 to my left, 2 directly ahead of me.
Yep.
They're coming down a corridor, are they in line?
Kind of side by side, I'd probably say 10-foot corridor, like 10-foot width.
What about the 4 that are attacking them? Are they also orientated in sort of like 2x2 formation?
Yeah, it's kind of like almost like almost circling or spiraling around, moving around them, but very much like 2x2, almost crawling, and it kind of gross to some degree because they're almost crawling over each other at points, but the movement is so fluid that they're not hindering one another.
Would you say each of these creatures occupies a 10-foot cube? Each?
Yes, they are considered to be large, so they'd be more of a 10-foot cube than a 5-foot.
Okay. In which case I would like to get myself next to... well, actually I don't even need to be next to them, as I have a range of 150 feet. I would like to cast Firestorm, and then arrange a series of 10-foot cubes that occupies all these beasts and leaves out Eidolon and Wolfric. I don't there wouldn't be a way of connecting these cubes in such a way that they could connect to the other 2 that are pissed off.
No, you'd probably have to... You'd be able to get
choose one or the
4 of
other.
them. Yeah, you'd have to either get the 4 of them or target the 2 of them.
I'm going to go for the 4.
4
Numbers
is
is numbers.
a bigger number than 2.
Yes.
As is Firestorm a dex save, yeah?
It is a dexterity saving throw.
Yeah, 1.
I mean, you could almost like organize it to get the 4 of them and then almost make like a little wall so it's more difficult. Oh wait, no, it doesn't last. Never mind.
No,
It's instantaneous.
I thought they stayed around. My bad.
That is a 5, a 7, a 17, and a 15.
They all fail. And each will proceed to take...
All gets to roll big numbers.
that much damage.
Can you give
assuming
me
it's fire damage.
4 dexterity saving throws?
Me?
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh no!
Am I within Wolfric's range?
You would be in range of his aura, yes. This is quite a small
Cool.
space.
So the first save,
4 of them.
Okay, there's 1.
the second, the third, and finally, yeah. So what does that mean for me?
So 2 passes, 2 fails. Let me
One
work.
crit pass.
Yeah, but that
So-
doesn't count because it's on an individual creature. So let me do some.
When I roll a natural 20, I should be able to pull off some bullshit.
Not on a save, Paul,
Not
sadly.
on a save. If it's on an ability check, or if it's on an ability check, then yes. On a save, not so much. Math would be 57. That one would
Oh.
be halved on 38, which is 19.
Sorry.
That one, which is full.
I think they're halving your
which
damage, Paul.
Is 25, 55.
Is there not an Eidolon and a Wolfric between me and them?
Yeah, there is, but this is unique. And then
Mm.
that is 19, which is 54, 64. Okay, so you would obviously create your firestorm. How does it look, Marcusar?
I'm imagining gripping my sickle and it just like sort of glowing a sort of like reddish orange light, not necessarily like bursting into flames, but then just like seeing the space occupied by these beasts just like also just get like suddenly brighter, like it's just about to spontaneously combust, and then yeah, just like I'm trying to like, rather than me like sort of like casting like fire coming from me, just like this fire is just sort of like emerging from what seems like nowhere, and the fire damage objects in the area ignites flammable objects. Are they classed as flammable?
No.
Well, that's not Pog, is it?
I mean, I don't think rock is flammable.
No, not
Yeah.
really. Crystal and rock isn't that flammable. Needs to have something on it to make it flammable, or
Yeah.
superheated.
Oh well. So yeah, just like maybe like sparks begin to like little embers begin to like manifest in the air, and then suddenly the area that these things occupy just bursts into flame in like a sudden shock. Not like an explosion, but like just like you know.
Well, you watch as the kind of flames envelop two of them. One that's with Wolfric and one that's Eidolon seem to be almost consumed by these flames, kind of writhing that little bit, these blackened shadows kind of crying out as the flames kind of envelop them. Two of them, however, the kind of flames kind of erupt, but as they kind of erupt and explode, they almost implode into the creature. The kind of insectoids almost absorbing the magic. You watch as these almost crystalline spikes along their back and on the tips of their tail, rather than being this kind of amethyst purple, start to turn red, similar colours to your flame, to your fire. As they do so, it seems to almost to create a similar magical effect, this kind of swirling magic that kind of emanates from their crystals starting to spark, and all of a sudden, one after the other, almost instantaneously, a firestorm seems to attack you, Marcusar.
Great, love that.
As you take 39 points of damage.
Oh, they've got like the Morkoth thing.
Okay.
Like a variant of the Morkoth thing.
Is
I'm
that like a
complaining,
spell
but
reflection?
Yeah.
Wait, 39. Hold on, that's okay. I'm still pretty healthy.
Oh,
Technically, you would have
yeah.
taken, as you would have taken half of the half damage twice, so you just take the damage once.
Nice. Cool. I don't ignite, however.
No, you don't.
Are you flammable?
Nothing has been worn or carried.
If not, that would have been very awkward. We would have had had a
Yeah.
very fiery Marcusar.
I just yell out to Ranagash, just like, be careful what they use. They can throw it right back at you. They have the Uno reverse card.
The strongest magic of all.
God, the strongest jutsu.
It's faster than Sonic.
So that's one. I actually need to keep track of this as well, because I need it's an effect, which means I need to keep track of their actual action economy. Simple monsters.
That was my first time using a 7th level spell. That was fun.
So much power.
I wish it didn't come back at me.
I wish it didn't bite me in the ass.
It's okay. I've got a 6th level spell lined up for those bastards.
You really need to give Paul the opportunity to actually do cool things and not just immediately murder him with them.
Well, usually I have like cool things planned, and then all you guys lose a bunch of health, and it's like, well, I guess I've got to do my healing spell.
Welcome to being a support.
Yeah, I knew what I signed up for.
Would you do anything else, Paul?
I get a bonus action healing word myself.
That is
It's like, oh, like, and I'm just like, like putting on a salve for the burn marks I just received. Let's I'm actually pretty fine right now. I guess I'll just do it at first level. So.
I mean, we all have little healing salves. They just a
Can I-
bonus action, like little.
Can I apply
potions.
that in a bonus action, or
Yeah,
should
they're
I-
bonus actions to do them.
And what is the healing of a
2d6.
2d6? Oh, bless. 2d6 or 2d4 plus 4? Someone run the math. What's better?
I mean, your thing is one of them is just a bonus action, no spell slot. The other you're using a first level
True. So
or a
2d6.
second level.
Well, not terrible.
That's your average.
Yeah, exactly.
Is
And you have one more of those.
Yeah, Eidolon
What
has
is
2,
it?
Markstar has 1, Ran has 1 left, and Wolfric still has 2 left.
And just the image is just like ooh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Just aloe vera.
Yeah, exactly.
Slathering himself up.
And end my turn there.
Matthew, what does Ran do?
Gonna do a stupid thing and he's gonna cast a spell because I don't have much else to do. Before I cast spell, are these things like how much of them is crystal and rock?
Mostly it seems a lot of their upper carapace, so like, or their back, their head, where these kind of crystals protrude, does seem to be quite rock. You do see between the kind of almost slates is a lot more like flesh. So like where their jaw is quite exposed. Their kind of stomach area is quite exposed where these kind of smaller arms are. There's no rock or stone over those. It just seems to be where this more slated carapace is, or where the spikes are. Seems to be a lot more rock.
Okay. So how much of a creature needs to be made of such material in order for Shatter to just fuck them? Because the specific wording is a creature made of inorganic material such as stone, crystal, or metal. So how much of them?
I would probably say, just on observation for Ranagash, if you were to cast it almost centered behind them and shoot the shatter out onto their carapace, that would probably be more effective than centering on them. Like, you're disrupting the actual stone, you're disrupting their carapace itself rather than centering it on them, where they could perhaps almost block it with the more fleshy parts of them.
Okay. So can I position a shatter in such a way that I could do that for multiples?
You could either get, annoyingly the way that they're positioned, you're only ever going to get 2.
Yeah, I figured that would be. It can only hit 2. It's only big enough to hit 2 anyway.
Yeah. So you can either get the 2 on Wolfric, the 2 on Eidolon, or you've got the 2 that are directly in front of you in Marcasar.
I think let's go for the ones behind Eidolon because I think they took the most damage to focus fire.
They are pretty injured. Both of them are looking kind of rough.
Yeah. Okay. So can the both give me Constitution saving throws with disadvantage because they're stone?
They're made of the rocks.
They do be made of rocks.
And this be owie.
We're playing with Dwayne Johnson, the Fortnite legend.
Don't call him
Yes! Yes!
that. Don't.
Finally,
No.
someone acknowledges it!
It shouldn't be acknowledged though.
Look at his dumb face.
As disadvantage, that is a 10 and a 7.
Both fail, so they will both take the full 3d8 thunder. 3d8. That's 17 thunder damage.
Nice.
And can you give me a deck save but with advantage, Matthew?
Ooh.
Why did he get advantage?
Because he's disrupting the part of them that is casting the magic.
I have
Yeah.
Wolfric's thing, right?
Yes.
So advantage and then a +4. No, that's a 2d0. That will not. 2d20 KH1 +4. So we're 13.
It's just a fail.
Shame.
That is actually quite a shame. Oh, that's actually really satisfying though. They're both on the same health.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
they've both taken different forms of damage, but they're now both on the same cumulative health, which is kind of satisfying. As you also take 8 damage, Matthew.
8. I can. Okay. Okay,
Yes, 8.
that's fine.
As your shatter kind of goes off, rupturing them, you can see that several of the crystalline spines along their back starts to break. On the kind of, I guess, the one that was a little bit more toasty from the fire damage, you can actually see several of the spines have actually shattered completely, as well as kind of cracks forming along the carapace. The other one, however, while several of the spikes and spines have almost shattered, you notice that whilst they are broken, they almost protrude outwards, kind of riding on this kind of thunderous force and knocking it into you, almost extending it like an echo. Winding you slightly, but not doing that much damage.
These creatures are terrifying. Like, genuinely terrifying. This is why I haven't cast spells on them.
Is it the big insect part? Is it the big insect part, or is the fact that they just throw magic at you?
No, it's the fact that they can fucking Uno reverse our magic.
My question is it just damaging magic, or is it all magic?
There's only one way to find out.
I don't want to find out.
I can't find out!
Listen, the phrase goes, fuck around, find out. And I'm not in a mood to fuck around.
Curiosity kills the cat.
But satisfaction brought it back.
Thank you for finishing the quote! Thank you!
I didn't know there was an end to that.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Well,
most people
so
don't.
So we should indulge the curiosity of figuring out what kills these guys, and then we'll be satisfied when we do.
Yeah.
Like, the whole purpose behind the quote is not to say, like, you shouldn't be curious. It's supposed to be like, curiosity can be dangerous, but, like, the result is worth it. That's the purpose behind the quote.
It's like the phrase jack of all trades, master of none, but better than a master of one.
Well,
Where a jack
I've
of
got a
trades
new
isn't supposed to be a
mantra
bad thing. A jack of trades is supposed to be you are not best at anything, but you're better than someone who just does one thing. It's not supposed to be an insult.
It's like, you know the phrase blood is thicker than water? It's actually which is about, it's like,
so it's custard. What's your point?
it's like how the phrase blood is thicker than water, right? It's meant to symbolize how you should prioritize your family over like outside choices, outside like of the family group connections, right? Like friendships, relationships, stuff like that.
Godfather vibes. Keep it in the family.
The actual quote is, "The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb," which is the exact opposite.
Lovely.
It's the symbolism of the found family is stronger than an actual family.
Anyway, shall we continue?
As we're jumping from misquotes into something I don't think Matthew will like very much. As I know a
Communism.
9 misses
Sorry,
you,
what?
but I'm pretty sure a 24 will hit you, Matthew.
Just a tad.
Ooh, just barely got him. Just
You're
like
just-
a little nick.
You're scratching him.
It's a little bit of a nip,
Yeah.
you know.
Your arm's falling off. No, it hasn't.
Is 13 damage, Matthew. As one of
Okay.
these things comes barreling out of the darkness towards Ranagash and drives one of these claws quite quickly into your arm, almost cutting through some of your leathers as it does so, as it's now almost impaled its like pincer into the rock, splitting it in front of you. As I now have to make some rolls because it's my turns. As we're back to the top of initiative. The 4 of you will become slightly more aware as, coming to the end of this turn of combat and going into the start of another round of combat, you start to hear more noise coming from the corridor the 4 of you came from.
Oh boy.
You start to hear more scuttling. You start to hear more almost chittering at this point, charging down the corridor. And I'm going to make 1 because it doesn't like Wolfric and it's very injured.
I don't like this.
It fucking misses, so that's fine. As the one of the ones that is attacking you, Wolfric attempts to almost wrap its tail around you, as the other reaches up to attempt to stab you with its claws. Only one of its claws will hit you on a 25, the other will miss on a 13. But you're not grappled, which is the kind of main positive with it, is that's what they were attempting to do, almost strangely enough learning using tactics. The intention, though failed, was one of them was going to grapple you and the other was almost going to try and pierce you, stab through you. Unable to do that, it kind of just raised up its claws and more flailed, as you take 14 points of damage.
Cool.
As Eidolon, one of the ones that is attacking you, is going to attempt to, well, attack you.
Shocking. Extraordinary.
Again, it kind of reaches out, almost using this kind of prehensile tail to kind of slither along the ground, almost stretching out, the crystal starting to coil as it attempts to grapple you on a non-nat 20.
Yeah, this is a reaction shield moment. If it's slithering around, Eidolon would more just snap the fingers the ring is on, as the shimmering field would just go around him, and wherever they try to grapple onto him, they're almost repelled by the force of the shield.
See, I'm learning, Craig. I'm telling you that things aren't just happening and giving you numbers so you can fucking shield.
Thank you!
It's only taken me like 20 sessions, but here we are.
Always such a pleasure.
Let's see if Hyde knows where the fuck you guys are yet. It's a bit of an awkward situation as there's now quite a lot of these things starting to almost barrel through the corridors. There is still... actually, I'll give it a roll and we'll see if you guys are lucky or not. How lucky are you boys feeling today?
Exceedingly.
Well, Craig, it's all your fault. As there is still one empty corridor, there's nothing coming down one of them, but that's not the one where Hyde seems to favour, as it seems to be a very Gandalf moment. He seems to have the recollection of where he's going and where he needs to go. As the corridor where the hunters, these insectoids, seem to charge from and attack Wulfric, that seems to be where Hyde needs to go. That's where he remembers you guys should be going. As leaving his dog, almost throwing his hand back towards the construct, uttering a phrase that for Craig essentially just means attack, but for the rest of you sounds like almost guttural garbage, leaves the canine behind and he just disappears, reappearing at the mouth of the cave to avoid any opportunity attacks from the beasts, and kind of almost standing at the entrance, maybe a few feet in, just looking at the four of you, beckoning with his hand, beckoning with his staff, going, "It's this way! It's this way! Hurry!" As for him, the four of you are obviously panicking. These things are quite dangerous, quite fast, and very intelligent. For Hyde, this almost seems like a game, as he sounds incredibly jovial as he's screaming these things to you. As... let's see if the doggo continues to be a good boy. Good boy. Paul, why can't your doggos be this good?
Shush.
How insulting.
To be fair,
A doggo is only as good. A doggo is only as good as its master. And
No such thing as a bad dog.
no such thing as a bad dog. It's always the fault of the master.
only a bad Paul.
So, only a bad paw.
No self-deprecation.
15.
Lift me up, brothers. Homies.
Stay strong, king.
To be fair, your dogs might not be that great, but, you know, Eddie 1 and Eddie 2, they were the MVPs of last session, so...
My dogs in D&D, terrible. Misbehaved. Absolute nuisance. My dogs in real life, the same.
As both of those attacks will hit. Or one of those attacks will hit and deal some damage. As it's the other one that's attacking Eidolon. It's going to attempt to grapple him as well. On a non-nat 20.
Also miss. I do not need to reaction.
As you almost kind of have these, like, two tails, almost like scorpion tails, trying to almost pincer you. As the beasts themselves seem to try and dodge out of the way of your attacks. As it is now your go, Eidolon. Hyde is beckoning you towards the entrance to the cave.
It's very much the thing of, I like to imagine it tries to wrap around. It's almost just like the standing jump, so like the knees kind of bent in. Are the ones around me looking like I could probably kill them, or at least one of them?
If you got a good hit, you could kill them both.
Cool. I will attempt to kill these ones. I'll firstly target the one that's already injured by my attacks, and mark as a firestorm. I'll start with that one, as that's a non-nat 20 at 25.
Both will hit.
Cool, let's see. Does a 29 kill it?
Yep.
As I'll essentially just take that standing jump, knees in with the sword, and essentially just as I land, I like to imagine I land on the slightly scorpion tail, and then swing up, cut off the tail, continue the blow, and chop off its head. As landing on the ground, is the other one... I'm assuming the other one is still kind of okay.
No.
No, it looks pretty injured.
Matthew's Thunderwave. Thunderwave? Shatter.
Ooh.
Other one.
Does it look like one good hit could kill it, or I'd need two?
What's your damage die?
I'd be doing 3d8 plus 5.
You could kill it with a good roll.
Cool. Well, we'll just make an unarmed attack, and if I need another one, I need another one. We'll just do it that way. No reason to fuck around and find out. 17 to hit.
That will hit.
Come on. That's a 19.
It did.
It did?
It
Yeah,
did.
so it's just landing, cut through the head of that one, just take the tendril arm, almost pull all the tendrils in to almost make a more clenched fist, backhand and shatter its face. As with nothing to attack of opportunity, I am going to... Does anybody look like they're in a predicament?
Define predicament.
Is anybody being bared down upon by giant insectoids that hate magic?
Wolfric and Ranagash.
Ranagash, do you want some help?
I would appreciate some help.
Yeah, I'll expend the key point for a second attack as I'll run over to Ranagash's one, and then still with the clenched fist from the backhand, I'm going to try upper head and just punch it in the head. Is there only one bearing down on you, Matthew?
Yes.
Cool. That's a nat 20 to hit.
Yes.
So this is going to be a very powerful punch.
This is a very powerful punch.
I cannot empowered arms this. This is only 2d8 plus 5, but I'll take that. As that is 12, 24 force damage.
Ouch.
I think I might have gotten its attention.
Well, yeah, but there's also a magic-y person currently beside it, so it needs to make a
Then
toss
can it give me a constitution saving throw?
Again, love these dice, very hard to read. 5.
So as I come in, raise up the punch and punch it in the face, Matthew, you'd notice it's not like the blight goes into it or stun it or anything. I've just hit a nervous point. I don't know where. The fist is too big for me to work out where, but as the sort of like fist collides, I kind of drag it through and then raise up the fist again. Eidolon just looks at you just like, let's go. As that sentence finishes, there's just a slumping noise as the thing falls to the ground prone. Not stunned, but you get me.
Aesthetically prone.
As I'll use the rest of my movement to get over to Hyde, because I'm assuming I'll have enough.
Yes, you will. Almost dart along to the other edge of the corridor.
That was cool, I like that.
As this thing still doesn't like the dog, so it's going to attempt to fucking miss, apparently. No, one will hit, one will miss. I think this will probably kill the doggo. Yeah. As Marksar, Ranagash, you're kind of still close. Wolfric, Eidolon, you'll be able to hear it. This almost shattering noise, but for Marksar and Ranagash, you'll actually be able to see that these kind of almost mandibles that these creatures have, it starts to basically encase the dog, this crystalline construct in them, and it just keeps squeezing and squeezing and squeezing until it just crushes it from sheer force, as it almost looks directly towards the two of you, and it would screech, but it's almost like a sonic screech, where it's not like a scream or a guttural noise that a normal creature would make. It's almost like a resonating sound that just seems to reverberate through the corridors and chime out.
Don't like that.
As Wolfric,
Not fun.
Yes.
there are still 2 attacking you.
Okay, I'm gonna hit the one that tried to wrap me up with its tail.
It's also not looking
Swing.
great, this one, so technically Wolfric with his damage output could kill this one. Like that.
Okay.
Oh, yay!
I reroll 1s and 2s.
I reroll.
So that's 14 double 28.
The first one is dead on the 28, and with that just overkills it.
Okay, second attack on the one that's looking less rough.
You spin around.
22.
Also hits.
I have a question. Can it make me a strength saving throw?
I mean, it can try. 14.
That fails. With my martial adept feat, I use trip attack.
He still has maneuvers!
Yes!
I still have the move. I have a single dice, but I have maneuvers.
And the memories.
So it takes plus 1d8 plus 1d6. I reroll 2. I reroll 1s and 2s. That's still a 2. 2, 7, 19. It takes 19 points of damage and it's now prone.
19.
As like Wolfric cuts into the second one. The first one with his radiant axe, like basically bifurcating its fucking face, and it just like hangs open. And then Wolfric goes and sweeps out, breaking a couple of its insectoid legs in the process, and just like essentially sweeping it clean off of its feet. And I imagine it lands on its back, and it's like, you know, when like a spider's on its back, and it like
I hate doing. I didn't. Why did I do this to myself? Never use insects.
I still
again.
got it.
Still, he's wipes away a tear of nostalgia.
Remember when Wolfric was a battle master? As Marcusar.
Yes.
Wolfric
We're running,
still,
are we?
Wolfric still has one on him. You don't have one on you. The one that is near Ranagash is stunned. The one that is or was attacking the dog seems to be less preoccupied. Yes, you.
You remembered something?
I would have started running after Hyde now that I've knocked the thing prone. 'Cause it can't get back up to hit me.
God, just fuck these things trying to hit us. Just fuck them.
As you kind of have a clear path to run towards Hyde.
Is that to Wolfric or myself?
To yourself.
So I'm free to run. Will if me running away, would that provoke any sort of opportunity attack?
No, there's none near you.
Oh, well.
Why
So-
not?
Peace out.
Actually, is there anything I could like? Am I like last in this train of individuals?
Ranagash's.
Ranagash's. Hold on. Let me look at the wording of this spell. Do. Nothing. Is anything attacking Ranagash or heading towards Ranagash at this very moment?
There is a free one that is almost charging towards or starting to move towards you and Ran. It's still quite a little bit away, so it's still got a turn to get there. The one that was attacking Ranagash is currently stunned.
Actually, I'm just looking at the wording of the spell and it doesn't really wouldn't make it advantageous. If I can get away relatively unscathed, and Ranagash looks like he can get away pretty easily too, might as well. Yeah, let's just all boost.
As Ranagash.
Actually, wait, hold on. Maybe there's something I can do for him.
Oh.
just like as never mind. This just. I was going to give you enhance ability. It's like maybe does that make him run faster? But no, it's just on checks.
You wouldn't have haste or anything.
No, I don't have haste. Oh well. So yeah, I boost. Sorry, Ranagash, no help from me.
Okay.
As Ran.
Hmm.
Can you help yourself or do you just boost?
I can indeed help myself. I wish to boost, and then I also wish to throw something at the stun thing, just for having the insolence to attack me.
Who do you think you are? That you can touch me?
I don't think that there's no point in. I don't have any small spells that I want to throw, so I'll just drop a scorching ray.
Because it's
Just
stunned, that just means
Yeah.
attack of advantage.
Yeah, I was looking for something low level that's a dex save because it would automatically fail, but I do not have one.
Do you not have just like Firebolt?
I have Firebolt, but Firebolt is just Scorching Ray, but less.
Yeah,
Could you
it's also
could you
something
flavor Scorching Ray as a manifestation of Ray Winston coming in, and then just like fire attacking some things?
That is awful, but
Scorching
yes.
Ray. Yes.
There's nothing stopping you from doing that.
Ray Winston, actor, Cockney. He shows up and goes, "You slag."
2d
I think that's Firebolt.
H1 plus.
If you're doing 3 Rays, you could do Ray William Johnson.
Just
Then
shows
it's
up.
3.
2, 3.
Ray
Doing
Charles.
your mom.
No, that's
Maybe
your
that was
just
it.
mockery,
All
Ewan.
3 of them.
All 3 of them, excellent. Scorching Ray, I should know this by now, but I'm
2d6.
compelled to check. It is 2d6, so I'll just roll a big chunky 66.
Not gonna lie, I
Oh.
always think it's 2d8.
What happened to equals 3?
It
got taken
died.
over, and it died. He's on TikTok now, though.
Oh, he would be. Oh god, I hate Ray William Johnson.
Oh yeah, right, yeah, him. Okay. I suddenly remembered who he is. Anyways, yeah, boosted Scorching Ray.
20 damage.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
That's about it.
As the 4 of you are now with Hyde at the center of this area, the center of this cavern, or the center of this way out. The ones I have left in the initiative order will have to use their whole movement to start to move to come towards you, and you can hear them start to move, and you can hear them start to almost barrel towards you even faster, as it seems more and more of them start to join in. as coming to your movement, coming to your running, following Hyde. Eidolon, you're kind of the fastest one of the bunch. Hyde, when he's running or when he's moving, seems to move at a very similar pace to everyone else, and he's obviously keeping at least a little bit of contact with you, as he doesn't really want to, leave you guys behind by teleporting.
Are they, like... We're all running down this one corridor and they're all following us behind.
Yep.
Would I be able to cast Earth Tremor and block the tunnel behind us?
I was gonna make a wall of fire, but Paul's suggestion's better.
Because every 5 feet of earth or stone, which is made loose, takes a minute to clear by hand.
They don't have hands, they have tiny hands!
Hey, they have tiny hands, so take them twice as long. But I'm figuring that these also probably have some sort of like tunneling abilities, so... If we're still in initiative and then I'm not able to do it until it gets back to me, that's fine.
Well, you're still technically in initiative at the moment, but you're also technically out of initiative order because they're not close enough to be able to attack you at the moment, which means you have the ability to try and slow them down. As I like the idea. As roll me a D100.
Ooh.
Big dice. Big shoes. Decent roll.
Was it a 50-50?
It was a 50-50.
Let's go!
As technically, Marksar, you will have obviously seen these things. These things can climb, these things can move with very little difficulty, making the ground difficult terrain. It's not really going to do very much. They'll just climb on the ceiling, essentially. However...
My hope is to kind of like cause a cave-in.
That was the 50-50.
That's so funny.
As you cause your earth tremor, the ground obviously starts to become difficult terrain as you start to stir up the earth, start to stir up the stone. But as you do so, a lot of these rotten wooded supports, a lot of the things that was keeping the mine, keeping the cave upright, start to crumble, start to collapse, start to bend and break, as you do cause a cave-in. Not a very substantial one. If these creatures wanted to try, if these creatures wanted to attempt to, they could probably burrow through it pretty quickly, but it is enough that will at least slow them down for a time.
All we were looking for.
That's all I need. Time.
I will give Hyde a survival to see if the time is actually going to help.
Please.
Well, the boy's good at some things. As almost digging his heel into the ground, as the earth tremor starts to send shockwaves, you can start to see that the cave itself starts to become a little bit unstable with the kind of tremors, but it's stable enough as he kicks his heel into the ground and almost veers off to the right, kind of down this narrow split that is big enough for you to walk, but only single file. Perhaps these creatures would have a difficult time getting here or trying to navigate through here. As he kind of darts down this very narrow corridor, which I'm assuming you would all follow.
Sure.
Yes, I mean, it's the only way to go.
I mean, you could not. You could, like, go somewhere else and find your own way here.
We've never been here before. He has, and we might not fully trust him, but his is the best bet. So.
As when you kind of all start to dive through this narrow space, whilst one side of this cave is blocked, the other is not. And you can start to see more lights of these almost insectoid chrysalids starting to scatter and scamper down the corridor towards you. To which case, when you finally dart into this narrow space, you can start to see them almost barrel into it. You can see the claws start to scrape along the walls as if they're trying to almost pull themselves in to get into this small space where you guys have retreated for the time being. As you wait and ready, as Hyde starts to fiddle through his bag once again, trying to find something else, as the room that you are standing in, whilst there is small props, small broken parts of wall, it's a dead end. There's nowhere else to go. As he is currently trying to fiddle and find something, as several of these creatures are starting to break down the wall, break down the barrier that is keeping them from you, trying to widen this space to almost tunnel through to get to you.
Is there anything above us?
Other than a solid ceiling, no.
Fantastic.
Below us?
Nope.
Okay.
So we just wait for him to find something, or we get torn alive. I will stand in the door, essentially like the tunnel way that we came in, and just ready the sword for if anything comes in. Unless anybody else would like to do something. The magic-y boy is probably not the best idea.
Yeah, well...
Wait!
Wait!
He has it.
Breakthrough.
Hold the phone. What
Phone
are
hold.
the dimensions of the corridor we're currently in?
The one you're standing in is quite a tight fit. You're probably 10 foot by 10 foot. Like, you're literally 5 foot space each. The corridor that is in front of you that the creatures are trying to barrel down is a 5 foot corridor. 5 foot wide.
Like, 5 foot wide?
Probably about maybe 15 foot, 20 foot long. I like that smile.
He has an idea.
Cast Autolux Resilient Sphere!
They can't get in!
They physically cannot pass through the barrier.
Unless they can somehow cancel that spell, we are now immortal.
I love D&D.
Well, yeah, you can do stupid shit.
I love all the
It'll
bullshit.
essentially be like wedged into, so it just goes boom and creates a massive like space.
Is it a transparent spear? Can you see through it? Or is it solid? I can never remember.
Fear, shimmering force.
So it's
Shimmering
transparent.
force. Transparent.
We'll be able to see them struggle.
As they obviously can't push past the sphere. They can't do it. They, whilst appear to be attracted to and have the ability to combat magic, they don't appear to have the natural ability to dispel it. The most they seem to be able to do to Wulfric's sphere, this wall of force that is creating a wedge between them and you, the only thing they can really seem to be doing is almost eating its energy. Is rather than trying to burrow around it or get to you guys, the sphere seems to act almost as a distraction for them as much as it is as a hindrance for them. As you can see these kind of like almost multiple rows of teeth, the jaws almost snapping and dislocating as they attempt to try and eat and attack the sphere itself. Almost trying to absorb and replicate its magic, or perhaps even trying to dispel its magic. As we'll see if Hyde is able to find the thing he's looking for. He is. Hyde kind of rummages through his sack, seeing the sphere, seeing this force, pulls out one of these big, long metal rods, kind of one of the ones with the hook on the end, and starts to fiddle with it, sticking it through a crack in the rocks and starting to poke around in the rock. As I need a...
I'd like to add in my notes, it says Wulfric summons the mighty sphere, and sphere is all caps, italicized and bold, with spaces between all of the letters.
The mighty sphere!
Fear the sphere!
Sphere.
This is what I miss by not playing casters. I can't do this stupid shit.
I'd also like to add, do you remember when I was asking Em how low I could get to cast a spell when you and Ranagash were trapped in that building?
Oh yeah.
Because of how fast Eidolon can move, I was genuinely going to cast Resilient Sphere on you guys and have you guys hamster ball through the blight.
That is hilarious. I want to do that sometime.
Hilarious.
As whilst Wulfric is keeping up this distraction, whilst Wulfric is keeping up this defense, and you can hear Hyde's metals almost bashing and battering against the rocks, you can eventually hear it almost loop around something, loop around a metal connector of some kind as he pulls it. He yanks the chain, he yanks the stick, and a door seems to open, or at least half a door seems to open, as some of the rubble is pushed away, and whilst one of the doors seems to be wedged in place, the other is able to push away quite a small part of rubble and open, as it opens into quite another large part of corridor. As he kind of just looks at the four of you, kind of tilts his head towards Wulfric. Get in.
You can close it behind us, right?
Yes.
Wulfric sprints through.
Wulfric rushes it.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Wolfric has the right idea. We're leaving.
Wolfric's just full-on NFL linebacker sprinting. Just like...
A Wolfric-shaped cloud of dust appears.
And then the minute we're through and Hyde closes the door, Wolfric drops concentration.
As,
They're going to be very unhappy noises.
When he closes the door and you drop concentration, you watch as he doesn't like entirely close the door. He almost keeps his hand on almost like a stone by the side where you can see quite a lot of it has eroded away. Almost like acid or water has been here and constantly just swept against the stone to break it. Hyde puts his hand on that very spot, and you watch as a sphere of bubbling acid starts to emit from his hand and onto the stone, where more rock, more rubble collapses over the doorway, blocking it from this side.
Nice.
It appears he does this often, just to cover his tracks, though as the rock falls you can then hear that almost eruption, this battering, as the creatures obviously barrel and batter against the door but can't open it.
And I imagine some of them are crushed by the
almost acidic rubble.
Nice.
As...
Okay, so what's next?
Next?
Where does this lead?
Up.
Thank God.
Well, that also led up, but this also leads
Get
up.
it. Just get us out of here.
That is what I'm doing. No?
Go ahead. Lead the way.
Thank you, Hyde. This is greatly appreciated. Continue leading the way.
He looks kind of very confused at Marcusar.
Just why are we hanging around?
Marcusar, we are taking a breath because we just got chased by magic-consuming insectoids.
And who's to say there aren't more of them around?
How many legs did they have?
6.
They are insects.
Thank
I
you.
was just confirming, because they may have been arachnids. They
Arachnids.
could have been arachnids.
Yes, they
At least
very
I think
well
it's
could have been.
6.
Something I learned: a bug is an insect which bites, or I think or it draws or sucks or something like that.
We are
Something like
taking a breath, Marcusar, because if there are more, they will be ahead of us anyway.
Okay.
We are taking a small breath.
Would you guys like to have the effects of a short rest?
Should we just get out of here, or are we definitely secure here?
This is kind of in terms of location for yourself, Marcusar, this is quite a narrow space. There is enough space that you can kind of spread out a little bit more. The rubble that Hyde has collapsed and kind of burnt away definitely appears to be, well, put it this way, Wolfric would have a tough time shifting it.
That's a good measure.
So if they are going to try and get through here, they're going to have to try and find another way to get to you guys. The other thing that you notice about this area in particular is it feels slightly different than the kind of refinery, the mine shaft, the kind of crystalline caves, is when you guys came in here, it was pitch black. The only light you've got is this white glow from Wolfric's axe. Everywhere else back there was dim light. In addition, you can almost feel a breeze starting to flow through these corridors. So you're kind of almost at the end of a wind tunnel by the sounds of things and by the feeling of things. So if anything is going to come towards you or come to get you, it's coming in the direction. You're going to be able to see it. You're going to be able to find it.
I reckon that we should shift it out of here, and then we can kind of reconcile. How's everyone looking for? How's everyone holding up?
On a scale of 1 to 126, I'm about a 94.
I got a few bad licks in there. That's about that, though.
Not too bad.
A bit rough, but I can sort.
I'll give you a little cure wounds.
Thank you. How much will that restore?
I shall.
How many hit points were you actually on by the end there, Yun?
59.
We were on the same amount of hit points.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll give you a 4th level. So that's.
Whilst
I-
Marcusar's healing Wolfric, I will just turn to Hyde and just say, well, you didn't know they were there, but do you know of anything that's ahead?
There you go, 40 HP.
Oh, thank you very much. Also, as we're traveling, Wolfric can do like the vocal and the vocal components of a spell, right?
Yeah.
So as we're traveling for like next, all right, what we'll do is we'll keep on pressing, and I will bolster us a little bit, okay?
I have asked Hyde a question, just by the way.
I'm just rolling a dice while Wolfric's doing this in the background as you're kind of walking. What would you do in that time, Wolfric, before I give Hyde's response?
Like in the 10 minutes as we're walking, Wolfric will bolster everyone very quickly with a quick 3rd level prayer of healing, so everybody gets 26 hit points back.
I'm basically at full health. That's class.
I'm now
I'm at
85.
What, motherfucker? Why am I healing you? If you can.
Prayer of healing's an out of combat spell because it takes
Yeah,
10
it
minutes
takes
to
10
cast.
minutes to cast.
Okay, fair enough.
You don't do that in combat.
Yeah, that's fair.
As kind of walking, navigating this corridor, kind of getting the kind of bolstering light from Wolfric, Hyde kind of just turns around to you, almost kind of very strangely dead look in his eyes as he kind of just shrugs. There's string.
Ring.
Like the string on clothes.
Do you know what a pattern is?
No.
Then the only other question I have is where does it hang from?
The walls. It goes into the caves, but I don't go in there. They're too far down and out of the way.
Then hopefully if that does mean there's something else there, it is also out of the way.